Well, everybody, I think I'm going to go ahead and start this puppy officially. I want to welcome everybody to our wonderful panel and roundtable about the Dragon Age RPG, and especially as compared to and not opposed to other tabletop games we all may have played. And please introduce yourselves if you would. I'm Angela, and I'm here with T, my lovely co-moderator here from Dragon Age Day. And off and so forth, we have Josh up in our upper left panel, at least for me, Brady Bunch style. So tell us about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm Josh, and I run a game with T and Kat, and we have a bunch of fun, and I don't know, I just really love Dragon Age in the world, and that's about it.
Well, you're in good company. And then Nick and Jen, tell us about yourselves.
I'll go. I'm Nick, and I have not actually played the Dragon Age tabletop RPG, but I want to. I'm volunteering with Dragon Age Day, but I want to hang out and ask some questions for a first-time player, stuff like that. And I use they, them pronouns.
Yeah, excellent. So. And you are hoping, right, to play your own game coming up and maybe DM it. So
yes, because I don't have any friends who will want to. Everybody's like, I want to play these tabletop RPGs, and I'm like, yeah. So it's looking like I'm going to have to be the DM as well.
It'll be
or
great.
GM, or
you can do it.
Whatever I'm going to do. So yeah, so just here.
Welcome. Nick, hello. I mean, Jen, hello.
Hi, so I'm Jen. I'm also volunteering with Dragon Age Day, and I am just in the beginning of a campaign with about 5 other friends with the Dragon Age tabletop RPG, and so far it's very interesting. It's my first time doing a TTRPG or D&D style game, but I have done other roleplay, mainly written, so this is an interesting transition into using dice and sort of more real-time, having to talk your actions. And I'm very excited to learn from the experienced folks here to get some knowledge for our party and all of the adventures we're going to go on.
Well, excellent. And then we have Warden Bly, that I know as Pat, who is my DM. Tell us about yourself and how long have you been doing this?
Yes, okay. Hi, I am Pat Bly, and I actually just finished a 2-year 1 to 20 Dragon Age tabletop RPG a few weeks ago. And like Ange said, I have another game that I do with her, and
we're pushing 2 years, so
yes,
I'm still recovering from some of the, you know what I'm talking about, nothing personal. You know what I'm talking about. He took a year to lay a plot twist on us. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm okay with it. I'm not upset at all. Kat, welcome, and tell us about yourself.
Okay, I'm part of T and Josh's group. This is the first time that I've actually done TTRPG at all. No exposure to D&D before. I did a couple of years of like a Skype style role playing back in the day, and so far I found that I am a much better writer than I am a speaking role player. I can't separate characters. I end up just role playing as myself because I can't get into another character's head live. I need the time to like, okay, let me think about how they would think about this. Nope, no time, just go.
And welcome, Tanya. Please tell us about yourself, woman.
Hi, I do a lot of things on the internet. I'm a professional DM and player. I've been running a now 2-season arc of Dragon Age RPG with Wandering DM and a few other fine folks who run his channel. I've been playing D&D since Red Book, since it began, and I'm the DM for Rivals War Deep in our 8th season over on our own channel, and previously on Wizards of the Coast D&D Twitch channel. So, and I also teach people play D&D, but in Animal Crossing. And that's on a bit of a hiatus because Shannon, one of our players, is in New Zealand for work. So yeah, I am, my shift has turned into a lot of RPGs.
Wow.
And I'm making an RPG, but that's neither here nor there.
No, it's
And
very here or there. It's
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is an awesome
Yeah.
RPG.
and welcome Angelica, who I know who is part of our wonderful group. And tell us about yourself, person.
I am sorry I was a couple minutes late. This is actually, believe it or not, my first Zoom meeting. So apparently,
Oh
unlike
my
the
gosh.
rest of the, I know the rest of the
Welcome.
known world, I am now getting into Zoom. But I have been playing D&D and tabletop RPGs for more years than I would like to think that I've been sentient. Older than I'd like to be, in other words. But I started
hush.
out with I started out with I think advanced D&D, so second edition basically, and I remember with great unfondness the days of THACO, which was traumatic, and I've played third and a lot of fourth edition. I haven't played as much of the newer stuff.
Right, the 5th edition, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten a chance to play a lot of that yet, but I've played that. I've played a lot of other systems. I've played Shadowrun, I've played Rifts, I've played Heroes Unlimited, so I've gotten a little bit of a lot of different games. So our game that we're playing with Angela and Pat and myself has been super awesome, and I feel like he's been taking lessons from Patrick on heart-wrenching plot
Pain.
twists.
Yeah, pain, and suffering.
But overall, it's been super fun, and I've very much enjoyed it. So that's why I'm here.
Yay. And then T, please, we all know you, but please say something.
Hi, I am Teresa, otherwise known as T. I'm kind of responsible for all of this madness because 1 year into playing Dragon Age, I decided it was not fair that N7 day existed and there was nothing for Dragon Age. And I kind of grabbed a couple of friends and said, okay, let's do this. And
And I was
now
one of them
here
who
we
said,
are
we
on
should
our
do
third
this.
year.
We should do this. Yeah. So
So
I
Here we are.
remember seeing that initial tweet.
yeah.
You're like, hey, we should do a thing.
Yeah. And so now here we are.
and be afraid, be very
Third
afraid.
year. Yes. And I go by she, her. So,
Me as well.
okay.
So let's jump right in. And T has our first question. And y'all just like have fun, throw out questions of your own. We have a set of questions, but the best result would be that they lead to more. So
You would be more what you'd call a set of guidelines.
yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Okay, so for everyone, what was your first tabletop gaming experience?
All right, I'll
We're going-
jump in, I
going
guess.
Start with the top left.
All right, Josh, this is your moment.
So when I was like 11, I heard a news story about Dungeons and Dragons on the radio and was like, I want it. So my parents got me like a little D&D 3 version 3 starter pack. And then I made them play with me for years until I found other friends to play with. But yeah, so it gave you the pre-made characters. So I was Lita, the halfling rogue, and she was awesome, and I liked her a lot. And yeah, it was super fun. And then we took turns being game master, and I liked that a lot too. And since no one else really cared enough to make adventures once we ran out of the preset ones, that was basically me making adventures and my parents being like, okay, I guess we have to make characters and play your adventures.
Please tell me the news story was about the evil of D&D. That would just,
It actually wasn't. It was about, this was well after the whole panic, and it was about like a group of friends who've been playing together for like 20 years and still going. And I was like, that sounds like fun. Why don't I do that? And then I did it.
I was recruited during the 3.5 era by another person up the street when I was in high school. And that just became ongoing process. I usually the DM as the person who I had the good spacious apart room in high school that was key to the having of the Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, that was how we started, and that was how we keep going, and I've just been going ever since. And then yeah, a few years ago, I guess it really would have probably been I think it was the Escapist convention in like 2011 was when I first found out there was a Dragon Age RPG. I think I actually got to buy it from Chris Pramus in North Carolina. Um, and yeah, a few years ago they released the core rulebook, and I've been doing that since I saw a Roll20 ad a couple years ago.
I'm
Awesome.
going to feel old. I've been playing since high school, but for me, high school was much longer ago. I don't remember my actual first session, but I know it was during the Satanic Panic of D&D, and this is something we're supposed to be doing. And kept going through 3.5 and took a long break from RPGs and then came back to 5th edition. So I'm the old in the corner with my like plastic dice that look like they've been through a blender.
That's why you just get a dice collection that takes over your desk.
Yeah, you need like
And your
Oh,
nightstand.
yeah, the really
and
big
your
bag.
bookshelf. And
Oh, I've shared photos of my dice on Instagram, and I need to update because I bought the Laura Bailey dice bag and it's full.
Been there.
on my
I'm so
desk.
proud. I support you 1,000%. Angelica, did you play D&D before this as well, or?
Oh yeah. The first time I ever played a tabletop RPG was actually a game called Mutants and Masterminds, and it was when I was in college, 20 some years ago, and that one I fell in love with it because I had a character that could had mind control and manipulate emotions. And I got to be super creative, and I got to basically manipulate the bad guys into fixing the problem they created, which was like a building on fire, and I felt like super smart and super cool because the DM was like, huh, yeah, okay. And then I was, at that moment I was like, ha ha. So I have played, so I played that. I played a few other things in that era. Then I lived in Dallas for a couple of years, and at that point I had a group of friends that we played every Saturday, it doesn't matter, Saturday, for a couple of years. And with that, we mostly played D&D 2nd edition, and my brain just went blank. Rifts, but we did Rifts Beyond the Supernatural, which is kind of like a horror line, ish, kind of alternate world possessed by demons thing, and then one that's more of a space setting, like Phase World or whatever. So we did a lot of different stuff. I hadn't had a chance to play the Dragon Age RPG. I didn't even know there was one until Pat messaged me and was like, hey, we're gonna do a thing. Do you want to do the thing? And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Sign me up. And that was, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, almost. We're pushing 2 years.
Yeah, and it's been awesome.
And then T, how about you?
I started with tabletop RPGs, I want to say about 3 years ago. I played 5 sessions of 5th edition and loved it. But after those 5 sessions, just like people's work schedules changed and things stopped lining up. So, and then our DM and one of our other group members moved to Oregon, and Skype was really ungood for us, and Discord wasn't working for them. And then just in this past year, I got back into tabletop RPGs. I started playing with Josh because he posted on Twitter, hey, I have an idea for a Dragon Age campaign. Who wants to play? And I had listened to Angela talking about how wonderful her campaign was, and I had seen the one shot last year for Dragon Age Day. I watched all of what was out currently of Tanya's Dragon Age campaign and went, okay, I'm going to do this. And now I am currently in the Dragon Age campaign and a 5th edition homebrew for Mass Effect. So
amazing. I wanted to play D&D, and I was the classic girl who could not get into a group as a kid. I mean, like in high school, I was like, this sounds great. I want to play. And then the guys were all like, you don't know our handshake. And so I didn't actually ever get to play.
Don't you know girls don't play games?
I know. Girls are
Right.
gamers, right? And
yeah.
then, you know, I've been, fell into the fandom the past 2 or 3 years as, and, you know, became an over-enthusiastic blogger. And kind of went from there, and then became, you know, I fell into an awareness of the D&D, at least 5e, at least the 5th edition, through Critical Role and other stuff. But I've been playing the DA RPG for almost 2 years with Angelica and with Pat, and I still make massive mistakes every week that they forgive me for. So.
No, she doesn't. She's
Right.
too hard on herself.
But in a good way. And I think we've all talked about how old we were. So T, I'm going to let you ask our next fabulous question.
Okay. How old were you when you first played?
No, I skipped that one. That was me.
Sorry.
Lovingly. It was me. You get the good one. That was
Okay.
my sucky question. Okay.
Okay. And this is on behalf of our new people. And what kind of lore do you need to know to play the Dragon Age RPG?
I don't know if you need any, because the game that I'm running on Simon's channel, one of our players has never played the video games at all.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
And it was delightful watching her with that.
So, I mean, if someone really feels like they need to know at least the background, I would give them kind of a one-sheet primer on the 3 games. But it's all going to depend on what your GM is going to do. Because I'm basically running a fanfic version of Dragon Age at this point. So having some knowledge could be helpful, but it also leads the way for a lot of fun moments in the game that, you know, sometimes goes off the rails, but it's still fun.
Yeah, definitely having a little bit of a basic background helps because, oh, here's the other cat.
Hey.
I gotta introduce.
Who's the house panther? I have to ask. Who's the house panther? I have to ask.
Oh, this is Stunt.
Names.
Aw.
Aw.
And yeah, she's the lap kitty. She's probably going to stay down here for the duration.
Perfect.
That was it. That was our one moment. Okay.
That was our one moment. She's not going to get any higher than this.
No.
But no, as far as background goes, I think you get some benefit from at least having played through the games once, because there's this, personally in our games, there's been a lot of moments where you're like, wait a second, what was this from? Oh crap, it's this. I forgot what that thing was. And then you just realize that, oh, this is much, much worse than we were thinking it was initially. It has a little bit less of that bite if you don't have the background, the basic background anyway, but I don't think it's something where you necessarily have to go back and, oh, you need to read all of the relevant books in order for this to
Right.
make sense. I mean, that sometimes comes into play, but, you know, honestly, we've got T on our side, so she explains anything that's going over our heads anyway.
I'm a bit of a nerd, sorry.
I think any published campaign setting that you're going into, it always helps if there's one person in the group who has all the lore, but it's, you know, a lot of it is you can do like Tanya said, a one sheet, or 10 things that you need to know about this campaign setting. And I think that's true whether you were doing Thetis or Eberron or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And aren't you lucky that you have 2 giant lore nerds in your group?
I am extra #blessed.
Well,
Wait, what did he say in Elven? Wait, that means what? No.
And I
What's
would-
this? Oh my god.
well, and also it's really fun for our DMs to have the lore nerds in the group, because they get the benefit of our huge theatrical gasps when so-and-so shows up. It's like, oh God, it's Fenris. Oh God, it's Solus. You know, and we're freaking out. And, oh, we have a new guest coming in.
Okay.
Welcome, Sarah Marie. But yeah, it's so much fun to, if you do play the games even once or enjoy them, it is so much fun to, oops, I think they may have gone. Well, we'll just hope they come back.
Yeah.
But it is so much fun to meet this, you know, parade of characters that you know and love. And like when Varric shows up and Varric is in the room. You know, what do? You're meeting Varric, you know, for God's sakes.
The author?
What? Oops.
Yeah, and if you have a talented DM, which, cough, you know, Varric really feels like he's there. So it's a lot of fun. So,
I think for me, like, so my party, all of us, our DM is definitely the lore master, which is great. However, all of us have played through all the games. And one of the biggest questions was when we were first sort of going, hey, do we want to do this? He's like, hey, has everyone finished Trespasser? They're like, yeah, we've played Trespasser. Like, all right, great. So our campaign is going to start approximately a year after Trespasser. So with that and the fact that everyone's played the games to some degree, and I think some people are a little more into them than others in terms of the details, reading the Wikipedias, etc. It's been helpful. So like for my character, I have connected them to some of the more prominent characters in the universe. And it's really cool because it gives me a certain avenue of character development, which the DM's very excited about too. And so, and in terms of like, oh yeah, I'll sprinkle in some, you know, people we really like or maybe don't like in the campaign. And we're all like, oh, we can't wait to see who it is. Is it going to be Varric or is it going to be Solus? You know, like,
right.
you know, giving us that sort of anticipation. I think it was very helpful. But, you know, to me, I feel like having the DM as the lore master is really cool. Also probably is going to set up all sorts of obstacles for us because of that. But hey, that'll be great.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think, you know, so when he first showed us all the materials, like he'd given us the Google Docs of everything, it kind of had that 1-2 page primer of this is kind of what the setting is. It's medieval fantasy. There's magic, you know, and potions and stuff. And then there's the stabby stuff. And so, you know, I think it would probably be a little overwhelming if there was, say, one of our party who had never played the games.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that depending on the DM, it seems like you're able to adjust to that. You know, like everyone's new to RP, so and to tabletops, and so he's like, okay, great. Well, I'm gonna adjust my DMing to make it easy on you all, and we're gonna try and keep this simple so you don't get stressed out about I have to do what with dice. What does this mean? So, you know, I think that helps. You know, having some background is great, but then having someone who's able to be a teacher or
like a guide, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A mentor of sorts.
My thing for me is if you play the games, you get more out of the experience because it took me a while in our campaign to realize, oh gosh, I know where we are. We're in like the late middle part of Dragon Age 2, time-wise. And I didn't know that at first. I really didn't have a sense of time. And then I began to realize, oh no, this is right in the middle of probably the most turbulent period, right before the last couple of years in Kirkwall. We are in the cyclone, you know, and so it was really fun to kind of get that extra awareness of time and place within the setting of the trilogy. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. So,
yeah.
But I don't think you need a ton of knowledge. Anybody could come in and just play and have a blast and then play the games and be like, oh, I met them a month ago, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, and from a first-time person trying to look at going into possibly running a Dragon Age RPG game.
And DM it, right? You're going to
yes.
possibly DM. So,
yes,
yeah.
I hopefully. I'm a little bit nervous on like, I mean, I am a big nerd about Dragon Age lore, but like.
You're among friends.
Yes, but like, I have been a bit nervous about like how much I need to know because I'm still I'm still pretty new to the game, so I haven't like absorbed everything in the past 2 years that I could possibly know. But what would be a recommendation, or at least like a little bit of something of like, do I start in like one area of a lore type thing to just kind of like get my bearings, I guess, on like how to deal with the vast amount of stuff that Dragon Age offers in the world and Thetis itself? Because I have been a bit like, oh, there's a lot. I mean, there's like dwarves and
Yeah, and
elves
it's scary
just
as a
a
new
lot.
DM. Yeah, so what
Yeah.
DM advice? Yeah, that's a great one.
I would pick either like a place or a bit of lore that you're particularly excited to kind of explore and delve into, and then either pick a time period where you know really well what's going on, or a time period that's in a spot where it doesn't matter what else is going on because it's nothing big and important is happening in the world, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, for the game that I'm running, Paxley, who's like a character that stands around in Dragon Age 2 and then gets like a mention in a codex entry in Inquisition, was like the foundation of the entire campaign that they're on, where I'm like, oh, well, he never shows up in Inquisition. What happened to him?
Freaking
He's
Paxley,
evil.
man. That, and what's the scout
Scout
cat?
Plane?
Oh my god,
Yes.
is he still running?
Freaking plane. And one thing I really enjoyed, since our campaign has a bunch of people who've played the games previously, is when we started, we decided as a group that we were going to build our world state to go from. So we have I keep forgetting if our Inquisitor is I know he's Kunari. Is he a mage?
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, Canary Mage.
Kunari mage.
Romancing Dorian, that's important.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Very important.
Yes, because I had to show everyone the clip of Dorian hanging off the back of a Canary Inquisitor at the end of the game, and it's just so adorable and sweet. But we sat there and we decided on our world state, and everyone take notes and write things down, because
Yes,
there's
I
been
always
so
have a
many times I
notepad
stopped
open.
and went, wait, who did we put in? Who's in power at the Winter Palace?
Yeah.
Wait, why didn't we write this down?
Well, I think all of us in my group, I think most of us take notes. I know that Angelica does. And I always have notepad open and I'm always typing while, in a break while we play. I'll take out at least general notes, like where we are, who we fought, what are we doing, what's our goal. And then I usually have the wiki open just off to the side quietly, just in case Pat decides to speak Elven to me and suddenly I've lost all.
You got to give
Memory of
you got to
Elven.
give the Solus-Mancers what they want.
Yeah. So I usually immediately forget all knowledge of any language ever and go, be right back. Monsteratus, so I do find this, but lore-wise, just maybe having like the wiki open or even World of Thetis or something off to the side, and so if a question comes up, it's searchable, or if someone, who was this character, you can kind of guide them through it a little bit. So
I think that's one unique thing about Dragon Age as a published setting compared to Forgotten Realms, Dark Sun, whatever, is that it does have that whole idea of the world state that you build from these pre-established games. It's not always like, okay, the Day of Mourning was 4 years ago, or it's Sigil and everything is there is like a canon that to some extent you can customize for the when and the where that you want to be, and that's something that this setting really kind of has on other settings.
what do you use, DMs, Pat and others, Josh and all of you, and Tanya, what do you guys use when you're prepping an encounter? Do you have, what are your go-tos lore-wise?
At least for the one I'm running, I just keep notes of kind of what happened last time. And I actually check in with the players and go, is there something you want to accomplish with your character over the next couple of sessions? Because for instance, we had one player who's never been on a stream game before. And so he's not new to RPGs, but he just hadn't been on a stream. And I was trying to also make sure that he got equal airtime. So it's just like,
Right.
what is it that you want to do? Because you've been quiet. I know you're still kind of finding your feet, but what is it we can do to draw you in? So I try to make notes based on what did everyone get to do? What is it I as a DM want to do? Like, where's this plot going? Did we advance the plot last time, or do we need to kind of wrangle everyone the next time? Because when you're doing a stream show, you've got your finite amount of time, and at least with
Right.
what I'm doing, we know it's going to be 8 or 10 or 12 episodes for a season. So if we didn't do anything and we went off the rails last episode, we need to pull it back and focus. So I actually keep a running Google Doc of everything of last episode. These were kind of like the hot
Oh,
points.
excellent. That's excellent. Do you manage that doc, or is it a group thing?
No, for me, it's a DM doc.
Okay.
And then any other conversations take place at least for that game in the Discord, where Simon has a channel per game he's running, that are on his channel. And I just check in, hey, before Thursday, is there anything you want to do, or if someone's going to be missing, how do we handle your character not being there? Because if it's sudden missing, we haven't plotted for it. But if it's, oh, I've got whatever going on and I know I'm going to miss the next week, I can plan for your character got sent off on a mission with someone else or what have you. So I do the same thing for Rivals of Waterdeep, which is everything that happened, kind of what I'd like to achieve in this 2 to 3 hours. And then if we don't get there, I just kind of bump it to the next week.
Right. That's great. Josh, what about you? Any tips for how do you approach the
So
planning?
I will say, if I have one main complaint about coming from a Dungeons and Dragons background to the Dragon Age RPG, is that there's no challenge rating on the enemies in the book. So it's like playing Dungeons and Dragons, it's like, oh, this is a CR5, so if your character's at level 5, they will match up well, whereas this is
Right.
it's minor, major, moderate, dire, and it doesn't scale. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, I guess this will be an appropriate at the beginning. I hope it doesn't kill them.
We always assume we're going to die. It makes it so much easier. We're all like, okay,
Yes.
we were about to die, salute you, and then we live and we all, yay. So,
But one of the things I do try to do is vary up the enemy types that they're facing, because we have like our warrior with a big two-handed sword that can get through really heavy armor and like chip away at a tough tank enemy. And then we have rogues that are like little pip, 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 and do like a... So sometimes they pair up against the enemies and I'm like, oh yeah, these are the enemies you're supposed to face. And sometimes they trade off and the rogues attack the big heavily armored one and the warrior just runs around chopping up the little enemies. And I'm just like, no!
It's fine.
Another thing that I haven't done, but I'm going to definitely start doing now, is have a name generator open in a separate tab, because last night I had a bunch of random bandits that they were fighting as a side quest, and then they decided to make friends with the bandits.
Uh-oh.
And they're like, oh, what's your name? And I'm like, and then I open my rulebook to marcher names, and there are 6 sample male marcher names, and 3 of them are Orsino, Sebastian, and Paul. I'm like, well, he can't be named Orsino or Sebastian.
I am Paul, the mage.
and this is
Yeah,
where names
I-
like Pervon come from, when you have 5 seconds to create a name, and yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I always have open any game is the Sly Flourish name generator, which just always
Oh,
has a
awesome.
ton of good quality fantasy names. The problem with that is that when I've picked one out of the block of text randomly, I've accidentally just blurted out Rihanna twice in 2 different games, I think, and it's just like, I gotta stop doing this. The name generator giveth, the name generator taketh.
It isn't aware of celebrity, that's all. That's terrific. And then T, you had a good question about our first characters.
What about our first characters?
Do you remember? Do you remember your first character? Describe them. I'm
I
helping.
will put
Room
that
with
for
the
the
deep cuts.
Dragon Age
There we go.
TTRPG.
Yeah, that
Since
works.
Most of us, our first characters were quite some time ago.
Your Warden, your Hawk, your
Yeah.
Inky, your fanfic version of the big three
Yes.
that you brought to the DAT RPG. The first time I played the Dragon Age RPG, I made a city elf rogue. As I look back, it was kind of like a more of a dude version of Sarah. Maybe I didn't know that at the time, but yeah, we were doing a mercenary themed game, and no one else was doing it, so that was really the key for me.
Well, mine is a really hapless, clumsy, Dalish elf who
Perfect.
somehow has managed to be let out on her own. And she met up with Angelica's lovely, accomplished, graceful bard, and somehow they decided to become a team. I mean, it's like if the most beautiful, graceful, dangerous woman in Orlais met the female version of Pigpen from Peanuts. I mean, I'm still not sure
It's
how that happened.
not.
So, you know,
It really isn't.
come on, it is a little. It's a little bit. So that's me. But I love her. She's an idiot, but I love her. So
She's awesome,
Um,
actually, and very sweet,
bleh.
and very into elf power, which has
oh
gotten
yeah,
us into
major
trouble
major elf power. Yeah.
on a couple of occasions. We may have,
RITES.
yeah, we may have started a riot once. a
Oh,
little bit.
several. Like we burned down a lot of Cumberland.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot about that.
It was great. I'm so proud. Yeah.
Clarifying question for me. Are we talking about our first Dragon Age RPG character or our first Dragon Age character ever?
RPG character, I think.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
Team-
wow.
Yes.
That would be the character I made for Pat's game for Dragon Age.
Oh my
game.
God, it was so awesome.
And I don't remember what I played.
It was an elf rogue. I believe their name was V.
Yeah, I'll
There we
trust
go.
you. I think I was trying to go for like legally distinct low budget Zevran.
Ooh.
Well, you were, yeah, it would, except cool and really scary in a good way. Oh, I mean, I was
Okay.
so intimidated. I mean, not in the best way. I was like, I kept trying to hug your character and she wouldn't let me hug her.
Much like real life.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there we go, you know, as you do,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, no, V was awesome. You were amazing. So,
Yeah, I have to find that character sheet now because I'm like, oh, maybe I could throw that at the others and be like, hey, you thought Varisa was scary.
it was wonderful and very witty, by the way, I remember. So,
Oh God, I have to find the video of that now because
Kat, tell us
The-
about your character.
Oh, sure. Mine's actually my first DARPG character, is my first RPG character, period. So it's kind of an easy answer, I guess. I basically tried to pick the most basic background I could because I was afraid of getting a different background's lore wrong. So I just picked just the generic marcher human background, and I played a rogue because Josh advised me. We already have 2 mages, and B, mages are harder to play. And since I hadn't played anything, it was just going to be easier to stab things than keep count of spells and such. And I was initially planning on making her like some, world-weary mercenary type. And this is where my bad live role-playing thing comes in. She basically just turned into a massive dork, so she's me now.
Oh, yeah, yay.
And she's one of the four moms. We have
Yes.
4 moms in that group now, don't we?
Yeah, 4 moms, one of whom is male. So
That's how it goes.
poor Sedalis.
Well, for me, since it is my first RPG and TTRPG character, I usually, in games where it's an option, I usually play a sword and shield warrior. That's just kind of my norm. And everyone else is like, well, I'm going to be a mage, or, I want to be an archer. I'm like, well, someone needs to be the tank. So she's a Navarran adventurer who has sort of, she's been traveling the world, was keeping an eye on the the Inquisition's activities and the Breach and all that fun stuff, but distant from it. I think kind of how like Orlais and Navarra and Deventer were kind of like, oh, Ferelden has a blight. Well, that's your problem. So, and helping out, just sort of the small, not really exciting things that are way up here, like we see in the games, but more the common everyday, I'm a fighter and I can kind of, help protect people and, what does that look like? And so I'm kind of excited to see that area of it. I don't really see a whole lot of that in the Dragon Age game. Not that that's a problem, but I feel like that's really cool. It gives us that, we don't have the weight of the world on our shoulders. We're helping save
I really enjoyed
a peasant.
that too. Excellent.
So she's still very much in progress. I don't really know what she looks like. That's the thing. One of my parties like, I'll draw your characters for you. Like, yeah, once I figure out what she looks like. Thanks. But not a dork. Probably the exact opposite.
Excellent.
Kind of the stoic, like, I don't know all of you yet, so maybe once I do, I'll loosen up, but until then.
And then, Ange, I kind of spoiled people by describing your character from the outside, but tell us about her, please.
No, my character is an Orlesian bard, and we have had a couple of warriors come and go to the group, but largely it's been my rogue and 2 mages. So we are extremely squishy and have to be very careful because of that.
We are.
But yeah, my character is named Dominique, and she was sorry, my brain just blanked out. She was a commoner, and her parents died in one of the many Orlesian bouts of bullshit.
Calamities.
And yeah, so she was so she was orphaned along with her little sister, and then I had it in the story that she I asked ahead of time. I was like, hey, can I give myself this cool background that actually gives me a connection to nobility? And I was cool with it. But yeah, I said that she was found by the Comte de Chalon, which is the same dude that found Michel de Chavon and sponsored him to the academy. And so I have it that he's known, he's sort of a dude that does that, finds promising orphans and sort of takes them in and gives them what they need to succeed.
Corrupts them forever.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, so she became a bard under that tutelage, and is also partly works for him, partly works for the chantry, but is not 100% on board with the chantry, but a little bit. Anyway, that's her, and she likes to stab things, and
stealthily.
Yeah,
Of course.
and she has been very unfortunate to have become a target of Varric. Who?
Oh yeah, y'all.
They're good friends, except for he just. We can still see you.
So her Dominique had a little flirtation with
The story did it, not me.
Dominique had a certain flirtation with a certain very handsome Templar, and that we all may be aware of. And Varric chose to not only write about it, he wrote a novel about it, and it just came out in our world, and there are posters of it everywhere. And it's
with my character's portrait,
right,
which is really great for a spy. Works really well.
With
Look,
Varric.
I think
So good.
I think Orlesian housewives love silk and steel, and it's very
Oh, yeah.
important to them.
Silk and Steel, guys.
Oh, that's a lovely title.
Yeah. So Dominique has spent the last 3 or 4 sessions in a rage. Yeah. Yeah. Rightfully so.
Threatening Varric with bodily harm.
I don't know. Is it like Swords and Shields where the portraits are not exactly accurate? So you can be like, well, that doesn't really look like me. I mean, it does.
One of them.
It looks like her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Varric used himself as the male lead on the cover. So it's even more
my.
embarrassing.
It's-
It's not fair. It's so
So
great.
to deflect attention away from this, has anyone found that for doing the DA RPG that they've had trouble or their players have had trouble coming up with characters in a system where the kind of your race class distinctions are a little bit more limited than something like D&D, where like D&D, like, okay, we've got artificer to wizard, and we've got
Yeah.
I assume Aarakocra or to whatever the Z species background is, zebra forged. Does anyone found that to be an issue?
No, the bigger issue comes in, at least for me, is when you have a bunch of people used to D&D when combat happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I could do X. Oh, wait, this isn't D&D. Because you're used to a D20 determining your success failure rate, and then another set of dice determining how much you succeed or fail, versus there's just 3d6, and you're doing this, and stunt point seems to be the biggest stumbling block for me too as a GM. So it's not creating a character because everyone knows what a rogue can do, what a warrior can do, etc. The difference for me always comes up when it's if there is combat or someone wants to do a thing that requires a specific role, and we've all caught ourselves going, I want to do wait, that's not D&D. Hold, please.
I want to do
so,
something awesome, but let's hope you get the stunt points to unlock that.
Right.
Or it's like, I got set points. What can I do? And I'm like, here's the one page cheat sheet I gave you that I've also got up in a window.
Oh, we always have, I always have the stunt points open separately just so I can
The answer is flirt. Always flirt.
So right. This is so true.
I have my sheet of my stunt page.
Oh,
That is
from
so
the-
true. Now, for you DMs, Josh, I wanted to ask, do you guys have, I mean, I know you're running campaigns. Do you also have players that you play as in other games or that you have played? So, like, Josh, do you have an RPG character that you played?
No.
man.
I'm lucky to
Hashtag forever DM.
Yeah, basically. I don't know that I have time or enough friends to do 2 games at once.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, no.
I know it's
the
a lot
story
of
of my
work.
life is the story of me being a GM, but that just means I get to be every character that's not
Yes.
one of the main 5, which is great and fun and sometimes confusing when I have to remember who I am and what my name is and why one of my players suddenly started yelling at me. Like, oh, you're mad at the character. Okay.
ABK, always be Varric.
Always.
Hey, you were going to say, I saw your hand go up at the
The
flirt.
flirt. Oh man, yeah. Well, this is kind of off topic now, but
The most
Maybe
dangerous
not
stunt in the
quite.
game.
It's so good. It's so good.
T decided I don't remember what the original role was, but she got stunt points, and it was some sort of social non-combat thing. And I was like, well, you're alone in the woods. I don't know how to use your stunt points. And she goes, I'm going to flirt with the forest. So then a Sylvan shows up.
Solus greatly approves.
And now
Or does he?
Danaste, the elven mage, is engaged to a tree.
Oh my.
Good. No,
He's
we're
my-
gonna go with the Solus disapproves.
And
He's
it
my
was
fiance.
wasn't there poetry involved in this
I think
scenario?
Oh yeah, I forgot that not all
Right,
Sylvans
20
talk in
minutes
rhyme.
So he panicked rhymed for 20 minutes.
We are mean to him sometimes because I think that was one of the first questions we asked. Oh, is it a rhyming Sylvan? Yes.
And then history was made right there. Because why not make your DM recite impromptu poetry for the next 20 minutes? It's so great.
Of course.
Oh, God.
Y'all are cruel.
What DMs do for the game
We have never done that to you, Pat. Just want you to know.
Flirt was the only thing I could do. I'm sorry.
I don't know about that. I see a lot of exploration and role-playing stunts that cost less than 4 points on this little sheet here.
Oh God, I just realized I was foreshadowing all the tree thirst from that EA play.
Oh my god.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm gonna go crawl under my
no.
couch and hide.
It sounds awesome, by the way. So, I guess I was gonna ask, like, you know, what's your favorite thing about playing tabletop? You know, like, what do you love about it?
Honestly,
Chime
just
in.
when it goes off the freaking rails, we were just doing this last night, and it was initially interrogating a prisoner about a tower we had to go into, and then we all just started talking at once over each other, and we just kept saying, yeah, this is canon. This guy can hear us arguing this whole time and just talking about random crap and is completely confused. And honestly, that's kind of how most of our encounters go. I think Josh expects us to kill people, and we always make friends after we send them home.
The most surprising was when I sent a cetus, which, if you don't know, is a giant sea serpent, after your boat.
Yeah.
And the response was, we'll feed it all the salt pork that we have in the ship, and maybe it will leave us alone.
Did
Our
it work?
other mage
Yes.
went up and petted it.
Oh,
Of course they did. I love that they
Yes.
did that.
Ellen Mages.
We have so many animals.
oh.
We've adopted like 20
Yes.
people. It's, I don't
An
know.
entire Dalish clan now
This is a
follows you
problem.
around.
This is a problem beyond just the DARPG. The PCs
Yeah.
adopting NPCs.
Yeah.
This is why it is good if you're doing you're pretending to be the Inquisition, because like you have a place you can send them.
Yeah.
That's not like in
Right.
the combat encounter. I need you to go wait in Skyhold until this fight's over. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, and my
Not our
Take your
Kunari
stat
mage, though.
block
She has
and
to
go.
stay with us. Not our Kunari mage that we adopted, though. She has to stay
Asaron,
with us.
yeah, we called her Helmet for how many episodes? Helmet, you know. Well, and poor Pat, because I have my mage is kind of one of those, I'll save everyone people. So we'll pass somebody in the street and she's like, I need to save them. And you just hear Pat going, no, 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 don't, you know, and I know this is going to happen. And so I feel for you, Pat, by the way. But yeah, I still try to save them. And
He does that on purpose now, knowing that you're going to do that. So that
you know.
you're going to be like, oh, there's an elf being talked mean to in the street in the middle of a bunch of Templars. I have to go save
Tell
them in
Leona she
spite of the
go
fact
talk
that I'm
to
an
them.
apostate. Yeah, that would be a great thing to do. And Dominique is like, no, you should not do that. We need to go. Let's go. Let's go. We're going. Let's go.
Dominique is going to lean at a 45-degree angle, indicating the direction she'd like to go.
Yeah, I think Josh learned pretty quickly with our group, do not put animals or small children in front of us
Because
because
they're going to join the party, you know?
But that did
Yeah.
lead to my proudest moment, which was the demon trap,
that is true.
where
That was amazing and kind of traumatizing.
What was the demon trap?
So, inspired by the circle, broken circle from Origins, I made a dream world that I was like, they won't try to escape. It'll be like a demon's trying to catch them. And it was just an island filled with baby animals.
Oh, no.
And anytime they tried to leave, the animals were like, no, don't leave us alone. We're lonely. We want to play games.
Flash forward a year and
Roll
my
20.
character would still be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's genius.
It's evil. I love it.
Yeah. I would be fully lured into a trap by a nug because like one of my deepest desires is to pet a nug.
Obviously, by the way.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. I love
Will
them.
you pet
so
your nug for me?
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
Hi.
Aw.
she has
The
a name
Emerald
too.
Graves is my favorite.
Yeah.
love
I named her
those.
Lacey after Scout Lace Harding.
Aw,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. So I just got really excited about the fact that if I get to play as a player that I would get to pet a nug in the RPG. I just
And
got
maybe
really
even get your
excited
own
about
pet
that.
nug.
Yes, I would get my own pet nug. I would be that person.
Have it just sitting on your shoulder, you know,
Yeah.
following around, being your pack. making
Basically
noises.
Leliana. at that point.
And side-eyeing any dwarf in the party who might be looking at them a little too
Yes,
hungrily.
like don't
and-
eat my nug. Yeah,
Right.
or nugs will be very prevalent. The nug king will probably pop up somewhere. Whoever plays with me, and if I GM, there's gonna be the nug king adventure. Just throwing that out there right now.
Who is only one of the great characters in all literature or
course.
gaming, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I just got really excited about being able to see nugs in game.
There will
Because
be
I'm
much
still very
judgmental squeaking.
yes, very much. So I that just made me super happy.
I think for me, one of the big hooks and one of the things I love the most about playing is the moment when you do the thing that everybody goes, huh? And it works. That's always the best.
Or
Like
it doesn't spectacularly. Yeah. and-
yeah, that too. Like the one time we were in a fight trying to, it's a long story and I won't go into it, but we were trying to save the Arishok from getting assassinated so that we could
Good times.
escape the Arishok. Long story. But anyway, we entered this room and the enemy rogue threw a dagger at Angela's character. And
Helianis.
my character, having just broken out of jail and having no weapons, turned and took the dagger that was in her, took it out and threw it at the other rogue, and it worked.
So badass.
I was like, that is awesome.
I mean, come on. That is a moment. That is
It
so
was.
great.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah, those are the moments where I'm like, I'm going to do this cool thing, and then it works. Or
Pulling
else,
the
yeah, like you
dagger
said,
out of your own
Uh-huh.
body and then throwing it back. I mean, come on. That's hardcore.
It's just a flesh wound. I'm not going to bleed out.
Yeah, it's a Princess Bride. You know, yeah, it's totally, it's Indigo.
Well, she's a healer. She's got it.
Yeah, she's
They,
fine.
they should they shouldn't have thrown the dagger at the healer. That's just going to get fixed. That's-
Oh goodness.
And then those of you who are DMs, what drew you to, running a game? What made you start doing it?
I mean, I like to see people happy. I like to, this is running the game. It's instant. You get to hear, now you get to hear the squeeze, the joy or the sorrow. You get to, it's like you're directing the movie. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
For
Tanya,
me-
you're running like 3 games, right? So
Yes. So I'm DMing Rivals, which is D&D 5e homebrew out of, now we've moved into the Frost Maiden content. I am normally DMing Dragon Age, but we're on a little bit of a break because real life. And Dungeon Crossing, which is teaching new people how to play D&D. And so that's interesting because we're using Animal Crossing as our location and vehicle, but we're also doing, you want to do this, let's explain why that may or may not be a good idea. So it's also teaching people about playing that may not be familiar with D&D or not familiar with RPGs, trying to get people to have good table habits, because as we know, not everyone has those. But for me, the wanting to do it is sometimes I have a story to tell, like with Rivals. I was there since the beginning. I had not had a chance to DM, and I took the chance for our 8th season. And for Dragon Age, I'm the biggest Dragon Age nerd of the group, and I wanted to tell the story, and I knew that, one, it would be fun to lead people kind of on shenanigans, but also I'm not putting someone on the spot who may not have the lore knowledge to be comfortable in the GM's chair, because I am often that nerd. If I hear a whisper of Dragon Age somewhere on the internet, I will appear.
Where?
And
you're in the right place right now. I just want you to know.
and I just get to do the fun things I like to do because no shame in this. I write a lot of fan fiction, most of it Dragon Age, and
represent.
yeah, and so we get to kind of bring that fanfic to life up to a degree, because most of my fanfic is, as Cassandra would say, smutty literature. But it's just a fun chance to run amok and see my friends just have a good time, especially with what's going on right now. This is the way I get to see my friends.
Right.
So,
And I can see Dragon Age Tabletop RPG, since for the most part Dragon Age is a solo game, it's an important way for all of us to be able to experience Dragon Age content, A, that we haven't experienced before, but B, do it socially, which is so
Yeah.
important.
And
since,
share it. Yeah.
it's the only way a lot of us can socialize right now.
Yeah. And there's something really fun. I love kind of the everyday lived in feeling of playing the RPG. Like, I love all the games and I've played them a million times and I've written 115 plus blog posts about that. And I'm so sorry. But when you play the game, you get a feeling of living in the world that you don't get even, I think, maybe, except perhaps from fanfic. I remember when we started playing our game, and I was playing an apostate, as you do, elven apostate, elf power, mage power, and but I really had never gotten the sense before quite in the same way of what a pain in the butt it would be to be a maid, to be an apostate. We'd walk down the street and I'm like, oh God, I shouldn't be here. They're looking at me. There's a Templar on that corner. Oh, my Valisline is showing. I mean, and there's a tension to it for me that I never experienced elsewhere, where I'm like, God damn it, now I'm finally getting the real experience because I can't go anywhere. I can't talk to anybody. I'm not supposed to show my face. My accent will give me away. I mean, I was
Great
powerless. I'm so sorry. But but it was just, it really brought home to me this like everyday tension of being in Dragon Age 2 and all those mages on every corner, being Hawk walking up to Colin and going, so how's it going? I haven't seen any mages, have you? But in the RPG, you really get a sense of danger that I hadn't gotten personally before in quite that way.
And now we've infiltrated the White Spire with you and another mage to break out an apprentice. Because
I know, we're all going to die. We're going to die. Yeah, we're going to die.
See how far you've come.
Yeah, we're going to die, and but yeah, it was something that I hadn't experienced in quite that way before. It felt very real to me. So
You did get to kill Daenerys too.
I did.
That was the best.
Okay.
Achievement.
I got the final blow on Daenerys, and it was just as good as you'd think it was. Although I blew it, he set me up for this beautiful.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
Bless you.
You blew up his head. Also bless you.
Thank you. Pat had set it up that like we'd finally gotten Fenris kind of out of his fog of enspellment, right, where he kind of realizes we're trying to save him, and because he had been mind controlled. So he winks at my character, and I'm about to, we're about to kill Daenerys for good, as he deserves. And I'm like, he's winking at me. First of all, is he flirting? Could be. Finally, maybe. Second of all, what does it mean? I'm sorry, Josh. I always think they're flirting. It's a thing. So, and his plan, Pat's beautiful plan, was that I would know what he was winking about, and I would
It was on the list of potential ideas.
So he would phase, kind of go like ghosty, and then I would stab Daenerys in the heart. It would be glorious. But I didn't want to hurt Fenris, so I just like edged around him and threw a fireball at Daenerys' head. It was not elegant, and it did the job, but it would have been so much better if I had gone for like Fenris' heart, knowing that he would, ghosty out, go. So I'm so sorry. I will always regret that moment.
It's okay. In full disclosure, I totally ripped that off from a cutscene in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, man. Just so good.
That I think is one of the big lessons of DMing. I have not had a chance to DM for a Dragon Age game, but I've DM'd some other games, and one of the big lessons is don't be afraid to rip off everything from everywhere, because in the context that it's in, people probably will not realize necessarily what it is originally from, and you can definitely do a lot of things there. The very first game that I ever DM'd was, I had played for years and years, and I always thought, oh, that might be fun, and I was terrified, and I was like, no, I'll suck at it, and the game will be terrible, and everyone will hate it, and I'll just have to die of embarrassment. But my some of my family members really wanted to play. And I had said, that I was thinking about DMing, and they were like, well, you just should. And I was like, I can't do that. And my brother-in-law, who's very likes to challenge people, was like, you should do it. And I was like, okay. He's like, okay, well, right now then. And I was like, but what? And so basically we went back to my house, and I came up with characters for everybody, because I was like, well, I have to know what everybody's going to be if I can do this. I made characters, and I made up a setting that was almost entirely ripped from a book that I read, and everybody actually had a great time. So, it's not necessarily about how original your idea is. It's about whether people are having fun.
How does the RPG differ for you guys from D&D, like on an intrinsic or basic level?
Getting used to having stunt points and being able to have those cool, I kind of, the way I put them in my head is you have that, like in Origins, when you have that slow-mo when you kill an ogre just right. That's how stunt points work in my head. How they actually work on paper, a little different, but getting used to keeping an eye for those double numbers and knowing which is going to be the dragon die.
Yeah.
The quick hack we came up with on Roll20, since that's what we use for our Dragon Age game, is that the farthest right die is the dragon die. So when we get a stunt, we look at that, and it's very different in feel from, rolling a d20, hoping you get that one shot at doing something super cool with the natural 20. I feel like it opens up a lot more.
Can I just say, every time we end up using stunt points, Josh will describe the thing we just did in cinematic detail with sound effects, and it is the best.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
For me, as a DM, the biggest difference, I guess, going from Dungeons and Dragons to the Dragon Age game is that Dungeons and Dragons is like everything's a spreadsheet. You've got these monsters give this XP. Here's a loot table for when they die. Here's a list of magic items, how much they cost. And this one, it's like, I don't know. This is a magic item. How much does it cost? Who knows? And I'm like, okay, how much money do you guys have? Okay, it costs a little bit less than that, or it costs a little bit more than that, but here's a side quest. So, and which is really freeing in some ways to just kind of create things on the go, or be like, oh, what would be a really cool thing to give the players, or where are they are they having issues rolling high enough to cast their spells? Here's a staff that gives you a bonus to that.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, no worries.
As a new player, that actually is good to hear, because one thing I've heard about D&D is it has a steep, or can have a steep learning curve. And for someone who doesn't really like spreadsheets, even though I use them every day, I'm like, ooh, that sounds like work. I'm good. So to hear that the DA version is a little slimmed down makes me happy, even if that does seem to put a little more work on the DMs. It'd be like, how much is this raggedy pair of breeches? Well, what's it made out of?
I think the great thing about the DA RPG for me is that you can start shallow. You can start with 3d6s and a basic knowledge of the Dragon Age world, and you can get through it. Build a character, get through it, and you can immediately start playing. I mean, it doesn't take a lot. But the more that you play and the deeper that you go, it's incredibly intricate if you want it to be. So there's depth and lore and richness. If you want to go all the way down all those levels, it's all in there. The book, there are, 2 books now for the kind of as the game guides, and they're amazing. And so that's what I really like, is you don't need much to get started, but if you choose, you can really fall down the rabbit hole.
I feel like the Dragon Age system, is, to me, it inspires creativity more, which D&D can be amazing in that way, and it depends a lot on like who your DM is, how your group is, and because of homebrew and everything, there's a lot of flexibility. People can do, whatever they want. So it doesn't have to be super number crunchy if your group doesn't like to run it that way.
Mhm.
But because the rules tend to be set up like this is your character, this is the thing they can do, it does this, you move this way, you do this thing. To me, I think it doesn't inspire as much creativity because it's all very laid out. So you just look at you spend a lot of time looking at your sheet and you go, what can I do? Okay, I do this thing. Whereas in the DA RPG, you do have abilities, but it's a lot more open-ended. So you have a lot more, to me, it gives me the impetus, I guess, to think of things that I could do. Like, oh, well, I could backstab this guy, but I've backstabbed this guy for the last 20 minutes. What could I do that's not the same thing? And what if I do it this way? And so I feel like it inspires more creativity.
Natanya, you have, oh, I'm sorry, go on.
No, I just say, and it doesn't always have to be fighting. There's a lot of ways you can get out of a thing that don't involve killing it.
Yeah.
Like feeding a cetus a whole bunch of salt pork and giving it pets before sending it on its merry serpentine way.
And Tanya, I know you have a lot of, you have your one group that's for newbies. You're literally teaching people. So do you find that as well? I mean, how much knowledge do they need to get started? I mean, basically, I guess we're kind of hoping to inspire people to play.
For D&D or for Dragon Age?
Yeah, well, I know you've got, it's D&D, right? Is it for D&D or the DA RPG that you have the group
Dungeon Crossing is D&D.
Dungeon Crossing is D&D.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like, at least for D&D, you can get people the starter kit, which you can buy at Target or any place. We're not in the dark ages of I have to go in a game store and, give the secret code and the handshake to get any D&D merchandise. I honestly think just if someone has a fantasy background, but you do a couple things differently, because when I started playing, because I'm old, we didn't have session 0. There was no such thing as session 0. There was no such thing as lines and veils, although there probably should have been. So just ask people, what is it you want to play? Do you have any ideas? What do you know about fantasy? And not in a gatekeeping way, but so you as the DM can get an idea of, this person knows elves and orcs and dwarves exist, and that's all they know about fantasy. So I'm going to give them a starter kit and say, here, read this intro, think about what you'd like to do, and then if they want to make their own character, actually walk through it with them, because character creation, especially in D&D, can be the most intimidating part, because a lot of friends are like, I don't have a math degree. I don't want to sit here and figure out why I need a D12 for one thing, or why I need a D8 for this thing. And if someone wants to, they're fine with the pre-gen, make them a level 1 character, and as you're going through, just explain, you're level 1, everything can kill you. This is the most dangerous part of playing D&D, because a strong wind might kill you.
A blue dragon is less of a threat to a level 20 character than one giant centipede is to the 5e level 1 character.
Right. And so, just explain, and, and I think especially with new people, have that talk about, if you want to play a character, are you okay with this character dying? Are you okay with this character being hurt? How? And, especially if it's a new group, and depending on how people know each other, set boundaries and go, okay, you want to play a character that's kind of evil. Is everyone okay with that? Is everyone okay with, are we playing good characters? Because I know a lot of people, they don't allow evil characters. They don't.
Yeah.
They just have a lot of things where I'm like, you have just guaranteed I will never play with you. Because a lot of what you just listed is the opposite of fun for me. And when it comes to Dragon Age, obviously you don't need to have an encyclopedic knowledge of it, but I think having played the games or having watched someone stream the games could be useful. And in the case of our player that's never played them, it makes for some fun moments, but it's never to the detriment of the game. Because that's why we have backstage chat of, oh, you just met Fenris. This is why you shouldn't antagonize him. That is not a good idea.
He can kill you with one blow.
And, the other thing, and this is any RPG you're playing in or running, communication outside of that game session, be it Discord, be it email, be whatever, however you can reach your players, because the last thing you want is resentment building up or emotional bleed, as a lot of people talk about, where let's say if we're in a game and something happens, my character dies or gets hurt, and I'm mad at you for real, not just in the game, and that carries over, and then it ruins your game sessions going forward. Because there's too many stories of people losing friendships over things like emotional bleed or not talking to people. The D&D Facebook group just had a post about it this morning, actually, where a guy decided to stop playing character because someone came to him and said they made the way that the character progressed, not the way he came out the gate, but as this character progressed, it made them deeply uncomfortable.
Right.
And then some of the replies, I'm like, ooh, I hope I never meet any of you people. Because a lot of you are like, but it's a game. And that's what I think people need to realize. Yes, it's a game. It's supposed to be fun. But if everyone's not having fun, then why are we here? And that's any system, no matter if you love Dragon Age and you can recite the Chant of Light in your sleep versus, you know, I've never touched this game before and I just want to play it.
One thing I really appreciated about what Josh did with our group is before we even created our characters, he sent out a list of things. What are you okay with? So that way he had a solid foundation of, let's say somebody's not into body horror, like really not into body horror. Obviously, we're probably not going to have brood mothers because that is extreme body horror. I personally am grateful we started in the Inquisition timeline post-Haven because I have massive things about sexual assault. So if we'd started in Kirkwall, there's a high possibility that would come up. Even before Haven in Dragon Age Inquisition, if you're reading codex entries, there's a lot of potentially very triggering stuff in there. And so it was really great to just out of the gate have that these are people's boundaries, and then just to make sure that the entire group knew boundaries, he shared them with us so that we could see, okay, this is where people draw the line on certain things, so we know A, that the story won't go there, and B, we don't accidentally trip something for someone where that goes from having fun to maybe having a panic attack or something like that.
Well, I found in this game we've actually been pretty good about checking in on that before starting to mention things too. I don't remember exactly which session it was in the last few weeks or so. Somebody was going to start talking about something but then said, okay, does anybody have a self-harm trigger first? And then once everybody okayed moving forward with that, then the conversation could happen. But it wasn't something that you just got with no warning. So there's just constant checking in when something like that might come up too. It's not just a one and done.
Well, and Pat did something really lovely for our group. We have this little subplot, as Angelica mentioned, with her character, and we all tease Dominique because poor Dominique is never going to live down her little, you know, almost fling with Colin. She didn't even have a full fling.
She gets all those grief. She didn't even get to have the fling.
I know, right? So now, you know, so we're all teasing her mercilessly about the book, and she's on posters all over, you know, Orlais. But Pat was like, hey, I'm going to put in a little like safe word here. And, you know, Ange, if it gets too much, if it's not fun for you anymore, just say the word and we're going to move on. We're going to stop teasing you. You know what I mean? And it was just very thoughtful because, you know, there's a point when maybe we're trolling. Maybe she's really tired of being on every street corner. Maybe Dominique is having a tough day. So little things where you make sure that the players are comfortable, you know, even if it's a funny situation, there may be a point when they're not having fun anymore. So it was a nice, you know, little DM moment for me where it was just like, hey, everybody okay? Are we still having fun? Or are you completely irritated right now because the joke will not die? So I really like that. So
I love the joke, by the way, just to be clear. But no, I think that is something where you have to especially sense, you know, get the idea of how the group feels and how everyone reacts to things, because like I was joking, my character, her go-to thing is flirt with everyone. Well,
it is.
that's I've done a lot of acting.
Yes.
I've got, you know, all that kind of stuff behind me, so I'm very okay and clear with going, this is Dominique that's flirting,
Right.
not me.
Right.
There's very clear division between what Dominique does and what I do. Not all people have that. And if that's the case, that could make somebody really uncomfortable. Like how I was playing this game and this other character kept coming, you know, this other person at the table, you know, or this player that the NPC, the DM was playing this NPC, and all this stuff was going on. It made me really uncomfortable. So I mean, everybody reacts different ways to things. So yeah, I think checking in like that and just making sure everybody's cool with what's going on and nothing's getting weird is always a good thing.
And can y'all kind of describe your like most satisfying moment, either as a DM or as a player, preferably DARPG? Oh, stop talking, everybody.
Well,
We all had to think about it for a
I
second.
already talked about mine, so.
The rhyming tree
It
or
was genius, the tree, right? Yeah, the poetry.
Well, it was the cute animal.
Oh,
crap.
and the trap. Oh man, I would go there so fast.
Real me would have been stuck there, just saying.
I think for me it was an episode because Gabe Hicks joined the second season of Dragon Age, and his character got a little tipsy, and this joke went on, you know, a little too long, but it was still a good joke, where they told him basically that there was a rite of jumping naked in a well as a fertility
this
thing.
episode.
And he somehow wound up riding on Bull's shoulders naked into the lake.
Oh, I'm loving this.
And I'm just sitting there going, you know what, y'all just go. I couldn't make this up. Just, I'm gonna let y'all run with it.
There is a wonderful moment in the DM when you're like, I don't have to do anything right now.
I was just like, this is happening. And then of course there was the next day where he rediscovered his debauchery, and the doodles he had written, apparently he had been drawing very well in his notebook. And woke up with it on the floor, was like, oh, okay.
so
Well, that happened. Yeah. And of course the
I have
moment,
evidence. Oh my.
yeah. And then
Oh,
of course
no.
the moment when everybody's like, no, we were just fucking with you.
And which episode? I gotta go check this out.
This is the second season, I want to say episode 5 or 6 of 8.
I have not caught that, and I will now.
You could be right. Since Simon puts it all on his YouTube, I have no idea.
If you look through my, because I do try to live tweet the episodes when I watch them.
You do. It's great.
If you look through the hashtag Dragon Age, at some point, Sex Pond is going to come up.
Oh no.
Yeah, because it went from jumping in the well to that will kill all of us. Let's just go to this pond near Skyhold. And I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
How about it? Let's take the plunge.
So there's the Well of Sorrows, and then there's the sex pond. So yeah, I mean,
Basically.
It's the opposite of that.
The Well of
There's-
Sorrows is the hangover after the sex pond.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and there's also Simon's infamous cold cut seduction of Fenris.
Okay. I'd like to hear a little more about that.
This one you got to watch for yourself. This one really can't be
There is
described.
no explanation.
Yeah, there were cold cuts, cheese, and champagne involved.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he made a charcuterie.
Yeah.
I like how Jen is like, what is going on in your game? Like I saw like I can't.
I thought we were looking for Anders. What the hell?
This is wonderful and terrible things are happening. And
Jen
I
is
am
at the
here for
beginning.
it.
Yeah, Jen is at the beginning of
Like,
the campaign. So this,
yeah.
this is
Well,
all
you know,
possibly ahead of you. It's gonna be great.
just a little bit. You know, though it's interesting because I had to miss my group's first session, and they were like, "Okay, great, we're gonna we'll come up with the reason why your character isn't with us yet." And they were talking about it. Apparently, it was a outrageous session. They had great fun, and one of the characters already has a very, 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 very deep hatred for someone else. I'm like, oh wow,
Awesome.
on our first session. But yeah, no, I'm listening to all this and going, you know, I have a feeling my party may get into some of this because that's what they're like. Fluids of, you know, whatever. Be like, wait, what? That happened? Okay.
Yeah, every game that I ever play has some things where it gets into like inappropriate humor and jokes, and I don't know if that says a lot about the people that I hang out with or about me. Probably both.
Well, as long as everyone's okay with it, there's consent all the way around. It's fun, right? We're all adults.
Aside from making Josh panic rhyme for 20 minutes, I think one of my favorite things that's happened in our game is figuring out how to close a rift with a pride demon in front of it without having the Inquisitor with us. That was really freaking cool.
That's a good one. I actually, oh gosh, I finally get to see Pat's kitty. Woohoo! Is that Zelda?
Yes.
Look at her.
I know.
Hi, Zelda. Yeah.
I really like
There she
the
goes. Pew.
Pat had a challenge in one of our more recent ones where we had to fight Daenerys but not kill Fenris or let Fenris kill us, and he could one-shot any of us.
Oh,
So
geez.
it was, you know, Fenris is uber. He's super, super, you know, powerful. And so it was
Divided by Cypher of Tyr.
so it was really fun. And we had this, and there was a mental aspect. We had to try to pull him out of this, you know, kind of enspellment, but again, not kill him and not let him kill us. And we're fighting a super, super hard boss at the same time. And it's really fun when you just survive, you know? So yeah. I also want to welcome Savvy. We have our wonderful co-founder Savvy here with us as well. And I didn't shout out to her earlier. So hi, Savs. Welcome.
Featuring her lovely cat Stash.
I know. Look at it. Look at it. Look at
So cute.
Wait, the name's Cat Stash? That is so appropriate. I love it.
Look at it. I mean, look at that. You just drank milk. You just drank some milk.
It's hard to say what my favorite moments are because we've had so many things that are just jaw-dropping or hilarious or whatever. But I have to say I think one of the most straight-up entertaining moments was the one that we mentioned before about when we started a riot, because the whole thing that was supposed to be is there was a tax collector that was bringing the taxes that he, you know, squeezed out of the alienage, and we were supposed to abscond with it basically and
Just
cause
rob
as
him and
little
go on our way. Yeah.
just get the money and run.
Simple job.
And so basically what happened is he saw us, and we tried to stop him because we realized that we were going to have to figure out how to get this heavy chest of money away, and he had a bunch of guards. And so Angela went down into the alley. It was in an alley, right? Went into the alley and started having hysterics, saying that this tax collector had abandoned her after having a fling with her, and
seduced and abandoned.
Yeah, and now he wouldn't recognize their child, and this whole and this tax collector was just like, I've never seen you. I don't know what's going on. And everybody's like, sure. And then, you know, all of our other characters continue to make a great big giant deal of it, so that the people on the outside of the alley are starting to hear, and they don't like this guy, and it's wrecking his reputation. And the guards try to take me away, and I end up getting away and climbing up on top of a building and dropping a flower pot on one of them's heads. So that was fun. But yeah, it just ended up causing this whole
Huge
big riot.
Huge.
And once we had started the whole thing and all the chaos was going on, we just took the money and left.
Like that meme was, Patrick, we saved the city, and the city's on fire behind them. Yeah, you know. Good times.
Yep.
Okay, DMs, what is your favorite NPC that you've created?
No.
Not based on any of the NPCs actually in Dragon Age.
I've had a couple that have been big hits. They tend to be, in the 2 Dragon Age games I've run, they tend to be extremely well-connected bartenders. It's a role that just keeps coming up.
Too soon.
I know, yeah. There was Luck, which was short for Athlock.
Still not okay. Still
who-
Still not
okay.
okay. Nope.
Yeah, kind of was a former, or was he Canary, who may or may not have tried to sell the party to the Airshock.
Oh no.
And you set it up a year ago. I mean, like, this was the greatest reveal. He set this up a year ago. I'm just saying. So we have been running around with this guy. He has become our best friend. He actually became a party member. I felt a kinship and possibly a flirtation with him, just, because, why not? And he's a bartender, and Teleanis has issues. So, and, why not? And no, it did not go well. And he even pulled the whole nothing personal, boss. And I can't.
Oh.
Not okay.
I think I lost the internet.
Dominic even tried to be like, look, if you're having trouble dealing with some of these people from, some of the Kunari folks that are looking for you because you used to be a spy for them and you're stressed about it, I can try and use my connections to get you out of here to safety in Orlais, which Dominique is not a joiner, not generally a not a warm and fuzzy let me help everyone kind of person, which is why she goes so well with Angela's Teleanis character, who handles all the
It's
warm and
yin
fuzzy.
yang. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
everything that she isn't. She's everything I'm not. It's great.
It works really well. But yeah, so they had a huge connection with this guy, and we were like, yeah, he's with us. He's our pal. We're gonna make sure he's okay. And then
We're gonna save him. We risked our lives, like, through zillions of adventures to save this bartender friend, and then he sells us out, man, hard. I mean, oh, so good.
mm,
There were also the 1 to 20 Dragon Age game I ran also had I think almost every player all but one player in the party had fairly stable, healthy love interests.
How'd that happen?
I don't know. Like,
What's it like? No, I'm sorry.
yeah, I know. It's like, wow, this relationship is really healthy. What is going on? But they were all they very beloved NPCs. The kind of the runaway, the city elf that ran away to join the Dalish, who actually became the Inquisitor in our campaign. There was, and we spent a good deal of time in Antiva City, and we had a circle mage that became the consort of one of our mages. They saved him from tranquility. And then we had another an elf from the Antivan alienage. She became the romantic interest of our party's ancient elf.
Oh, and one of those.
Yeah, I actually wrote a background for ancient elf, which I think you can still find it on the Wonders of Thetis podcast, their site. It's just basically a
excellent.
mashup of the Dalish Mage and the Tevinter Altus. But those would be my top NPCs from our campaign days.
Josh, what were some of your favorites that you've had inspiration for?
Well, aside from the rhyming tree, I think one of the favorite things that I did was I tried to make a few of the merchants that they might go and visit a little bit more distinct. So I had an elven merchant who had the complete works of Philem, a bard, including several signed copies, and had a half-human child running around her stall. She was fun. I also like our party Mabari, Swiftwind,
Yes.
who He used to belong to a Red Templar, but defected to join the Inquisition.
I wonder why. No.
Yeah. And now basically runs around, and if anyone drops something, we'll go pick it up and bring it to them.
Oh man, that's great.
I can't see Red Templars playing fetch.
No. And as much crap as we give you for him, I really like Rector.
He's great.
So the party annoyed Divine Stabby, so she gave them a handler to follow them around and make sure they didn't get up to any more trouble. And so I have Rector, who's this like grumpy rogue who's just like, ugh, every time they do anything.
He has obviously not stopped any of our shenanigans.
No, but he does write reports about them.
Extremely judgmental.
Today
reports,
we fought a sea monster, and instead of trying to stab it, they decided to rub its belly and feed it. Today, they adopted a Dalish clan.
It's a rage diary. Let's,
Today, they made a Varterol and made me ride it.
We made them ride a Varterol. That's great.
No,
Tanya, do you have any favorite NPCs that you've played or created?
Not really. I'm boring. I just usually use canon NPCs out of Faces of Thetas. So.
Hey, that works too. You can put your own spin on them. Let's see. We're getting close to time for people to leave.
Yeah, anybody, of course, any of you guys that has to, step out, thank you so much at any time. We will talk as long as you want. So whenever you have to go, it's totally fine.
Okay, name the moment for your group that is guaranteed to make everyone laugh when they remember it. So it sounds like Tanya's group, it's probably going to be the pond.
Sex pond! Hashtag. Let's bring it back. We're going to hashtag it.
The pond or bouncing a coin off Dorian's ass to prove how very lovely his posterior is.
I really like the sound of your group. I'm just going to say it,
It's a great show. It's a great show.
There's 2 seasons worth to catch up on before we figure out when we're doing season 3.
Definitely have to catch up on that.
How about Kat, what about you?
I think we've already mentioned a lot of them. Like the rhyming tree kills people every time. And honestly, just we mentioned the tank. The tank is the youngest character in the group, a half elf, half Kunari. I think he's like 21 at this point, and everybody else is in their 30s. So he's the baby. We're all the moms, and he's the baby. And every time we meet a new person, he's just going up and just immediately befriending them like a golden retriever. It's just the funniest damn thing.
But luckily, yes, he's found his long-lost father, because before that, every time he met an elf, he'd be like, did you maybe sleep with a Canary woman like 20 years ago?
And that is
Are you my mother? Are you my father?
Yeah, I linked the cover of the Are You My Mother book the first time he did that. And it is just, for some reason, I think we might have mildly traumatized Nathaniel Howe the first time we met him, just by saying, okay, kid, go talk to Nathaniel, make friends with the Grey Warden.
We had this moment in our campaign where we had a mysterious raven show up, and so it's basically it turned into an episode of Lassie. We spent most of an entire session trying to talk to the raven, and it was tapping on the bar. It was tap once for yes or twice for no, and we're all into.
And we kept forgetting which one was yes.
It was like Gomez trying to get instructions out of the thing.
Yeah, and it was pretty much 2 hours of talk to the Raven, and it's still one of my favorite moments ever. And yeah, and by the way, it turned out. By the way, the Raven was Flemeth. Okay, Flemeth, and the poor thing. So my character is annoyingly like hug everyone and are you my friend, and and so I'm giving the raven like scritches and cuddling it.
You gave Flemeth scritches.
And then it turned out to be Flemeth, and she got away from me so fast after that. I know that she still carries a grudge, so I was like, oh my god, I hugged Flemeth. So
I think she thought it was hilarious personally, but yeah, no, I think didn't we find out that like she could have talked the whole time, even in raven form, but she was basically just screwing with us.
Right.
Like she could have just straight out said what she was
Later
trying
on,
to
the raven
communicate.
is speaking to us in a normal, because ravens and crows can actually talk. And so we spent 2 hours talking to a bird that could have talked to us the entire time.
Why would you deprive
Where's the fun in that?
such fun?
Listen to us, it's so good.
Yeah, Pat's
They'd be
voices
like,
are
"Hug
absolutely
Flemeth."
bomb. By the way, Pat's voices are the best.
He's so
Absolutely
good.
the
I know,
best.
Pat, stop it, but he's so good.
Okay.
It's so good.
Stop describing me.
Oh.
I think we had a kind of a heartwarming, crowning moment of heartwarming in our campaign towards the end. The end of our 1 to 20 campaign was kind of post. It was kind of Wicked Eyes, Wicked Hearts, and then fighting Imshale and the Fade. They were connected somehow, but there was a really great moment where the significant other of our NB Ancient Elf stole a wedding ring, or now I'm spoiling it. Stole a ring off of one of the Orlesian nobles and gave it to our Ancient Elf in case they needed to use it later, which everyone thought was very cute.
Oh. And when did they realize it was a wedding ring, by the way?
Oh, it was right away. I mean,
Okay.
it was, the ring gets, look what I stole, in case you need it later.
Oh man. Let's see. What is everybody's favorite use of a stunt in game? Come on, bring on the flirts.
Bonus points if you don't have a flirt one.
I mean, do I have to say that it's the Cullen flirt? I mean, I think that's fairly obvious at this point.
That was a good one. And
It really
it's
was.
launched 1,000 ships and a novel. Who knew?
Yeah,
literal ship.
novel.
Yeah.
I do like building encounters with cliffs and then using my stunt points to try to push the players off the cliffs.
Oh, yeah, skirmish is just 1 point, so you can yeet someone pretty far with skirmish.
Yes.
With a ranged weapon,
I do, though, Drag isn't here, but he did have a moment where there was a ship combat and he tried to jump from one ship to the other and fell, and then spent the rest of the encounter climbing back up, and then when the party went below deck to continue the fight, got like a stunt that allowed him to do the double attack. And so killed 2 people in 1 turn, just like charging, just like, ah, stab, ah!
I had one that if it would have worked, it would have been great, but it didn't work. We were trying to help Fenris, who is under the spell of Daenerys, and he had been sent back by obviously an evil hawk, just FYI. And I had this idea, like if it had been D&D, I would have tried a greater restoration. But since I couldn't do that, I'm like, well, I rolled well, I got some good stunt points, and I'm like, what if I try to heal him and then like maybe double whammy? I was able to try dispel as the stunt point, and I failed the roll. It would have been so cool if it had worked, but yeah, I failed hard. And he hated me even more after that. So yeah, that went well.
I mean, you did have that whole, Dalish elf mage working against you.
Oh yeah,
Trying to do the magic on Fenris did not endear you to him.
Oh no. He had almost smiled once though, and he also had thought, he even said she smelled good once. But after that, it was all over. Yep.
Oh.
I do have to say that apart from all the flirts, which are sort of Dominique's trademark, there was one time where I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember we were fighting on a ship that was on the event of the evil turncoat bartender elf. We were fighting on a ship, and Dominique, there were people trying to get up through a trapdoor into the place where we were, and I might be remembering this wrong because I don't have my notes in front of me, but basically managed to like stab someone and make them fall in such a way that they stabbed the person in the trapdoor, and that made me feel pretty cool. I was like, yeah.
That was a good one. I remember that. Oh, and the throat, you did a cool throat thing. Remember you did like a double throat stabby thing then too. The guy fell on something and it stabbed him in the throat. It was gruesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to read my notes again.
Their hit points were low anyways, so.
They were already
That's
limping.
not the point. The point is it was cool.
It was cool.
I think my favorite use of a stunt point was in the first half of our tower battle that we finished yesterday, where I stunted on a Winter's Grasp. So I used almost all of my stunt points to pump up my spell power. And keep in mind, Josh had given me a ring that adds extra stunt points. So I get an extra stunt point anytime I stunt. So I was able to do double damage with that turn. I was able to reduce the mana cost and used all the rest to pump up my spell power. So he couldn't roll high enough to break out of the Winter's Grasp.
Yeah, it's almost a problem with the system.
It was great for me because this mage had been wrecking us previously, and I just managed to get that one stunt Winter's Grasp on him, and it was amazing.
I want that ring. Pat, make a note.
I should add, this is the mage they made friends with later on.
We adopt everything.
I think this happened once in the other game that I ran, where the fighter, the warrior, had walking bomb cast on her, but I think I realized like 3 rounds in, like, oh crap, she can't roll high enough to save out of walking bomb. Like, this is not like, well, you need a 20. Like, no,
there's nothing.
Like, oh, quick, there's a dispel magic that gets cast. Yeah. This is not just see the problem with walking bomb doesn't do so much damage, so it's like oh, this is gonna take a few minutes. Just taking that penetrating damage, just whittling down the giant pool of hit points.
So I actually have a question for you all. I talked to my DM about it, and he's like, well, it's kind of personal preference. But for you all as players, do you, when you're, I mean, because obviously you all are like super, your characters are amazing, and they've had all these adventures. Do you tend to speak in the first person or the third person in regards to portraying your actions?
Kind of third person. It's actually kind of a mix. Like if I'm trying to attack, then I'll usually say, oh, I'm just going to, whack this guy with the sword, whatever. But then if I'm trying to plan something, then I will go into third person for the character instead of saying it like it's my opinion. I have no idea why I do that. That's not remotely productive. I guess it's because it's pretty easy to figure out that me, the player, is not hitting anything with a sword.
Yeah.
I kind of divide it. So what I'll do as a player, I mean, I'm very, very, very much so for me playing the role. So I have an accent when I'm in character. And then when but I'll also speak as a player. I'll say, okay, DM, can I do this? Or, hey guys, I'm going to, Tanya, thank you so much.
Yes.
I know
Tanya has to leave.
Tanya's going to head out, and thank you, and we love you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Have fun.
And I have so much that I need to catch up on thanks to you, so thank you.
Yeah.
Personally, from me, thank you for more Fenris content.
You're welcome. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Yeah, thank you so much. So when I'm speaking as the character, it's very obvious. I am speaking as her. It's like, you know, and it's usually dialogue. I think I separate it by dialogue. So if she's speaking, it's very obvious, but otherwise I might say, all right, so Telly's going to go over here and stand behind this thing. And that's just me describing what she does. And then I'll just use dialogue as needed in the moment to be the character, if that helps, Jen.
Okay, so is it third person present for you all? Sort of, you know, so and so is
first
doing
person all the way. First person on
Okay.
both for me, actually.
I think for me, it just kind of changes. A lot of times, like Kat said, in the middle of a fight, it'll be, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's other conversations, it's very often been Dawn Aste is standing in the corner just shaking her head and rubbing her temples because why do we keep sending our little one, who's very energetic and kind of casts confusion with how fast they speak to speak to these important people. Why do we keep doing this?
I think for me, I generally speak about, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong because I'm just guessing based on what I remember, but I think that I usually speak in third person present unless it's dialogue, in which case I speak in first person. And I think for me, part of the reason for that is it helps maintain that sense of division between me, the person, and Dominique, the character. And because Dominique is very flirty, is not afraid to use people, and isn't always very nice, and is very sarcastic and very much a smartass. And I would not want the people that I was playing with to think that I was in touch. Like, me and the other mage in our group have a constant like bickering thing going on, and it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
But,
It's almost a rom-com.
But I wouldn't want it to seem like I, the person, was
Yeah.
being mean, you know? So it's I think that's part of how you maintain the separation between this is me and this is Dominique.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nick, I'm curious, do you have any questions as a budding potential new DM?
Yeah.
You know,
So many.
yeah.
I guess especially specifically toward the Dragon Age RPG, where would you suggest I start? Or someone who is looking into possibly running a game for the first time. And so I haven't actually played it as a player either. So do you suggest I play it as a player first to familiarize with myself with the rules, or kind of start planning it that way, since it's been very hard to find people to play with me? I'm familiar with how tabletop RPGs run. I watch a lot of actual play shows and listen to podcasts and stuff like that. So I'm familiar with the systems and things like that, but I haven't played a full like campaign. I played D&D like twice. It wasn't a very good experience. Yeah, that's why I never continued, because the people that I was playing with were like, didn't really explain it that well to me, and I was just kind of there, and I felt really uncomfortable. I was kind of shy. So where should I start looking at getting together, like putting together a game, or someone who wants to start doing that, especially if they don't really have a lot of experience and you're stuck in the position of, well, everybody else around me wants to play, no one wants to run the game, so I guess I'm going to run the game.
Josh, I feel like that's mostly in your court.
Yeah,
Well,
Josh and Pat, please speak up. Yeah.
yeah, I would say there's no reason you can't jump into running a game. Just go over the rule book.
Yes.
And just get very, very familiar, because everyone's going to have lots of questions.
Yeah.
And you'll be the only one with answers.
Yeah.
But, you know, start simple with, like, if everyone's starting at first level, it's pretty easy to have just like a small scale kind of story to start with, and then build from there, and then see what everyone's excited about and comfortable with, and what you're most excited about, what kind of like story you're most excited about.
Yeah.
Telling, yeah.
So as far as getting started with the AGE system, let's just assume that you have found a group of willing participants and are willing to run them through a game.
Mhm.
For the AGE system, it's kind of the best thing and the worst thing about it is that for Dragon Age specifically, there's two books. There's
Okay.
Green Ronin's core rulebook, and there's Faces of Thetis. Honestly, for if I was getting someone interested in AGE and I was trying to be their pusher, I would probably recommend they start with the Fantasy Age basic rulebook, which I just happen to have off the side of my desk right here. So what Green Ronin did is they took the Dragon Age rules and they kind of genericized them. They also fixed the rogue and the mage into a more generic rule set for fantasy adventures. And now they also have Modern Age for obviously modern adventures, and there's an Expanse RPG that uses the same rules for the Expanse universe. And that mostly comes down to cost. At the start of the pandemic, Green Ronin was giving away PDFs of the Fantasy Age book. And that was a great pickup. Hey, we're gonna just give away PDFs of our core rulebook. It's like I can't imagine what free 5th edition PHBs, and even if you got free D&D books, you kind of need a book of monsters and stuff. And the Fantasy Age core rulebook has monsters in it. It doesn't have a lot of monsters, but it's got some stat blocks. So if for someone who was just starting out saying, I don't really want to do D&D, I feel like we've done it to death, what's this adventure that they're playing with the cold cuts and the sex pond? I would probably recommend starting with the basic Fantasy Age core rulebook, and a lot of that just comes down to cost. Just because that book is, for the PDF can be acquired free of charge if Green Ronin was doing that promotion again. It's a little bit less it's probably, I think it's about half the price of the Dragon Age core rulebook. I think that PDF runs about $40 on Drive-Thru-RPG.
Yeah, it's looking around
and
much.
the Fantasy Age book is a lot less. Now I would say that if you're specifically interested in Dragon Age, that core rulebook is really a great resource. It's got so much lore and just everything you're going to need to run the Dragon Age universe.
Yes. Awesome.
I would
That
say,
sounds really
by the
cool.
way, if I just jump in here, I've not, like I said, I haven't DM'd Dragon Age specifically, but with the other stuff, I would say when you're talking about where to start, if you're talking about thematically or what era or any of that kind of stuff, I think your best bet at that point is to talk to your players and say, hey, what kind of character do you want to play? What kind of things do you want to do? Do you like a game to be more fighty or more talky or half and half, or what kind of things are you looking to do? What kind of people does your character know? How do your characters know each other? Because then you can think about planning ahead in a way that they're going to have fun. And that's something that I had to learn over time, because I have a group, my group that I DM for a lot is my family. And my husband is very, likes rules, likes stats, all that kind of stuff. Whereas my sister is very she would be fine if we had a game that never had a fight in it. She just likes the exploring and learning the what's going on. So it's figuring out what your people are looking for and trying to balance, so that everybody can have a good time.
One thing, if it helps, Nick, is that Pat did for us, and I was new to Tabletop a couple years ago when I joined their group, was he was like, okay, here's, I had the core rule book for Dragon Age, and but he's like, have the stunt table chart open. Just always, so I always have PDFs open of the core rulebook, of the stunt tables. So the minute I have stunt points, I can just jump in and go, okay, scroll down, what do I want to do? And like, so they're always accessible. And like I said, as a, you might also find it useful, like, to have the wiki open, especially if you know where you are in the world and where you are in the timeline. So if you are in Skyhold and you're in Inquisition or post-Trespasser, or are you in Kirkwall, or are you in the Free Marches and you're back in Origins?
Yeah.
You can set it any time and place that you want, which is great.
Yeah. That actually is like what I was really excited about. I was like, we can tell stories like in the Blessed Age if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
Like just make up stuff like on our own. So I was like, got really excited about that, and I'm hopefully we'll be able to, because I mean, even then, it's even just like DMing or things like that. I've had friends being like, oh, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, and like I have a group of them who are like, well, I would like to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to do all of this stuff too. So it's just kind of like starting to get like rule books and people together and like figuring out like, how do I do this? Because I love like the stuff I love about Dragon Age and why I keep playing the games over and over. I think is the stuff that I would really like doing as a GM and leading a game. I love like world building. I love characters. Like I intricately like create my player characters in the Dragon Age games to have like connections to like all sorts of history, and like, oh, like I will like sit in the wiki and just look at like, oh, I will over and over just read what Dalish culture is like if I'm going to make a Dalish elf, like what possible things that they could do. And like I think that stuff that I do all the time I think is going to be really cool for playing those kinds of games, and I hope I have players who are excited about those things and making up our own characters and stuff like that. So and also the rule set and the mechanics and things like that, how is the learning curve on that? I know there's like 3d6 and it's a little bit simpler than Dungeons and Dragons in terms of like, because there's other systems that use d6s too and things like that I want to play one day, Forge to the Dark games. And how would that be with like, especially if someone who is like not necessarily familiar with an RPG or might not be as familiar with like playing a tabletop RPG, especially I have a couple friends who probably they like know about them, but like they haven't really played them specifically, and I haven't really either. I know rules but haven't really gotten the chance, unfortunately.
I think that's really up to the DM for how complicated it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they say for teaching kids D20 system, maybe just have like you roll for hit and then there's a set amount of damage. Or with this, I think it's personally for me a lot simpler to keep track of because all I need are 3 dice, and as long as I know what those 3 dice are and where they are, because I have a lot of dice on my desk. You're pretty good to go. And starting out, you don't have a lot of, you need to add your dex bonus. You don't need to add your magic bonus because it's usually either a 1 or a 0 for that.
Okay. Yeah.
So
sorry.
And getting more used to it, then you can add in more things. Just one of the main things that drew me in is let them know they can do cool stuff if they get 2 of the same number and it succeeds.
Yeah.
And like I said, kind of describe it like that ogre execution animation from Origins where it's your moment to do something that's really cool and you get that slow-mo. This is what your character is doing. Like I had one where I got to cast an extra stone fist and I basically Gallaghered a guy's head open with my stone fist. Where there wasn't a head, there was now a lump of rock.
Oh, nice.
Chef's kiss emoji.
I would say one thing too is don't stress out too much, which is what I did a lot and still occasionally do, is that basically the whole point is having fun. Unless you have somebody that's like a super rules lawyer who's going to be the kind of person that's like, well, you said this was a roll of, this, but on page 47 in the third column it says blah, blah, blah. Unless you have that going on, which is its own issue.
Yeah.
if you get to a point where you're like, you don't know what the rule is supposed to be, you're the DM.
Just
And
swing
so
it.
you just say, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, and this is something Pat's really good at and I am not, which is you don't have to tell all the things up front. Where, you can save story beats. If you say that something happens, you can come up with a big scenario, but I don't know if this is how Pat does it, but, you can come up with more details about that thing after the fact. They don't all have to be up front. So it's just very, it doesn't have to be as much of a big, I have to know everything
Right.
kind of situation.
Not a stressful, thinky, scary thing. But I mean, at base, before anything else, this is supposed to be fun.
Yes.
It's a game. Have a blast.
The
And
only
sometimes
way you
if-
can do it wrong is by not having fun.
Right.
And sometimes the things that you screw up end up being the things that are the funniest, because like in one of the games that I was leading, which is a Rift game, there was a character that I did not anticipate that they would be talking to. And so I didn't think of names, and I didn't have a name generator open at the time. So it ended up being, it was a black market type person, and they ended up being named Tony Midboss. And then their boss was Joey High Boss or something like that, and it was
Really
terrible.
creative.
It was terrible, and everybody thought it was hilarious. And now they're like, "Where's Tony Midboss?"
Yeah.
I guess Bob was the low boss.
One of the things I think has helped our group out a lot is that we're playing over Roll20. So you can get character
Ditto.
sheets, and
Yeah.
then it adds in, like if you roll a strength check, it adds the strength bonus automatically. If you roll an attack, it adds all the things automatically. The one downside is that the only character sheet I could find is in Portuguese.
We've been brushing up on our Portuguese.
Yes, so now we know just enough Portuguese
To be
to
dangerous.
navigate our character.
That's a really great point. Although there's nothing like real dice, man, because I started the Roll20, the virtual dice. But the minute I got those tasty, beautiful real dice, and I got my little dice tray, and it smells really good. I mean, I get it now, and I have a huge dice bag now, and I have bad dice and good dice, like dice jail if I roll too many bad ones, and
Yeah, I'm going to be such a dice goblin.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
I
Welcome
can tell
to the
already.
Have you ever rendered tranquility upon a bad d6?
No, because we don't render tranquility in our group.
Oh.
We're not like that.
We actually just met a tranquil character last week, and every time they spoke, we all went, oh. I mean, it's just so sad. Every time they even speak, it's like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
That was another tearjerker in my other game. Our Avar mage met a guy in the Fade, and he was an Avar mage. He met this Antivan mage, and they began a kind of a long distance dream sending relationship until he kind of messed it up, and Antivan mage was he was rendered tranquil.
Oh.
He got better.
Yeah.
But I was saving that one up for a few months of like their first face-to-face meeting was after Antivan mage had been rendered tranquil.
Oh.
So evil, I love it.
You turned them into a newt.
Go better.
I think seriously though, everyone, the dice addiction will become real. I, as a treat for myself for surviving the ungodly amounts of overtime I've been working, ordered a custom dice bag.
Oh.
And
Oh, wow.
if anyone wants to DM me, screen name is I'm a Sith Duh on Twitter. I will let you know who made it, because they found fabric patterned after the Dragon Age fabrics from Inquisition.
Whoa.
So I
man.
get like, so it's I want to say high everweave and
Super cool.
something, the different pattern on the outside, and they're saying, well, it's going to be about the size of a basketball, which is a lot of dice. And I was like, listen,
Not
you don't
true.
understand. I've been using those bags that sheets come in when you get them in the store. I have 3 of those. 3 queen size sheet bags
You made Jen do a spit take. That was so great.
of dice.
So they did not
I
go
feel
with
really
cloud weave.
insufficient in my dice at this point.
I'm pretty sure if Tanya was here, she would be like, oh, is that all?
Oh. Oh my goodness. I didn't know you could have so many dice.
Yeah.
It's like I keep discovering pretty ones from dice makers on Twitter, and then there are Kickstarters. And
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's true.
oh my God, is getting handcrafted dice.
Uh-huh.
Small dice makers, if you can support them, it's
Yeah.
dangerous.
It's-
One of my
Too much.
nieces is an artist, and she started working in various kind of epoxies and resins and creating all sorts of gorgeous stuff. And I may or may not have sent her some dice molds just for
Oh,
no
no.
reason at all.
Oh,
Just was
no.
like, hey, you might make dice for a certain aunt that you love, and so, yeah.
And a door, and
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the dice addiction is real. So
Well,
Yeah,
my
definitely.
friend is actually, it's still in progress. She posted a photo the other day of how she is currently photographing over 200 plus dice for her Etsy store.
oh my God.
She
Whoa.
just
Wow.
made a set, and I don't remember if it's the 6, but one of the sides, instead of being a number, is the Mako from Mass Effect.
Oh,
You can
that's
awesome.
roll the Mako.
Oh, that's so great. I love it.
okay,
like,
now
ooh.
Amazing.
I
I
need
might
that,
need that.
or something similar for my vehicle checks in my Mass Effect campaign.
Exactly.
I
And
feel
so
like
hope
the
it-
randomness. I feel like the randomness that you would get from a die with the Mako on it is about the same as you would get from actually driving the Mako.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
It's
as
like
we've all said, if they fix the Mako so we can't drive at almost, a 180-degree angle up a cliff, then we'll be very upset, because that's the whole part of Mass Effect is
I just hope
skill
it
that.
I just hope it handles better than a drunk, heavily medicated stork in the next game.
But most of my favorite
That's part of the charm.
screenshots, most of my favorite screenshots from Mass Effect are of my bad parking jobs, of like the Mako
Yeah.
halfway up a building, or it's tilted to the right 90 degrees, or
Yeah,
rolled
exactly.
over
Yeah.
wildlife, or that that
Ooh.
NPC is
Yeah, no, like that
deal, yeah.
planet with the monkeys or whatever, and you're like,
Yeah.
Shepard, you just ran them over. It's like, not on purpose. It drives like a warthog. Sorry.
yeah.
Or parking your vehicle on top of the Tempest, and you hear Callow go,
yeah. And you're like, what? The Nomad can get up here? It's not my fault there's this perfect track right next door. Or one that I saw, and I had to do it once I saw it, was someone had managed to park the Mako on top of one of the guests.
Oh,
You
Red
know,
one?
whatever. I don't remember the, yeah, the white one.
Oh.
And it's just like, bad puppy. You get out, the screenshot, and the Mako's just on top of it, and the machine's just like,
all right.
well, I wanted
That's
to
so great.
touch base with everybody. I know we've got we can talk for a few more minutes and maybe end it at, in like 8 minutes or so, or do you guys want to keep chatting? It's totally up to you. I'm just throwing it out there so that we're not keeping anybody away from quality cat time or, you know, or Saturdays. So I wanted to ask if there was anything like DMs, what's your biggest facepalm moment where you made a plan and it just went horribly wrong in the best or worst way?
Because the party, of course, takes every plan and ruins it.
You know, as you do. Yeah.
Our job.
I can say that the Dragon Age, or not Dragon Age, the D&D game that I ran with my family group, there was a point where the castle had been basically taken over by the bad guys, and they were supposed to be trying to find out what was going on. So they met up with the intelligence officer that had all the information, and he was like, okay, well, there's a bunch of different things that, because I was trying not to railroad them, right? So there's a bunch of different things that I'm trying to figure out. So I gotta go, you know, I gotta find out what's going on in this place, I gotta find out what's going on here, and I gotta find out what's going on here. And they went, okay, well, we're not gonna do any of that. We're just gonna go right up to the front door of the castle. And they rolled really well and got in. And of course I immediately got captured because I was like, what the hell are you doing?
We just walked up and knocked. What's the big deal?
We wanted to know what was going on, so we just walked up and asked.
It's the Bardic Knox bell.
Use Bigby's
I can get us into this thieves guild. Watch. All right. What are you gonna do? Like, to speak to the manager.
Oh no!
Hi, are you in the Thieves Guild?
All right. Once they'd open the door to find out who it is, assassin, go. The door will be open.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh.
I think one of the facepalm moments that I've had kind of working against the Dragon Age system is it does have it's not as elegant a system as kind of 5e D&D. Like it does have some things that don't work quite as smoothly, or it just kind of has some traps. Like, you know, one of the big things is that a lot of the monsters and the player characters kind of have too many hit points. Just like if you use the math in the book, like the monsters and the players are just going to be punching each other for like 2 hours, and it's just yeah. I think at the end of my level 20 game, I think I could run the monsters in the book, but I just gave them all like plus 15 damage, and that kind of made it feel even. It made it feel right.
Yeah.
But one of the moments that I had before I had learned this rule was they were in a bar, and they had run afoul of some Tevinter soldiers, and a fight ensued. And so while the squishier part of the party, the mages and the rogue, they were off doing their thing, our warrior, who has, you know, armor, which in the Dragon Age system reduces your damage, she's just like taking on like 7 soldiers by herself.
Oh God!
Wow.
But the problem is that like unless you meddle with the math, like 7 soldiers with clubs actually don't do that much damage unless you manipulate them. It's like, okay, if your damage reduction is 7 and the soldiers, they're swinging for 1d6 plus 4, 3.
Right.
Yeah, they're not. Okay, well, the warrior also has like 90 hit points. So it just turned into like this comical situation of like 7 guys with clubs just going to town on this warrior. Like, okay, we deal 10 damage, 10 damage, 10 damage. It's like, okay, I took like 3. I can do this for another 15 rounds before and then 15 rounds later, oh, group heal.
You do this all day.
Yeah, it was
Isn't that
really,
what
it
happens
really
in the
was.
game? I mean, Cassandra takes on, I don't know, and it's like, what do you do? Okay, fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Blackwall, once you've got him
Yeah.
to Walking Fortress, if you have him with guard on hit armor,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can just have Blackwall run around doing
everything.
I'm just gonna stay at home. Go Black.
Yeah, we're just like
Yes.
standing and going, okay, you
Right.
got them, great. All right, they have all the aggro and they're dealing with all of them. And I'm
Congrats,
gonna be over
Blackwall.
here.
You're the Inquisitor now. Just call me when you need a rift closed.
We're like, what? I thought the Inquisitor was supposed to stand and look pretty while you. Okay,
Yeah.
are we good? We're good. We're clear. All right, now I'll close it.
We're picking elf fruit. That's what we're supposed to
Yeah,
be doing.
yeah,
They're
picking elf
fighting,
fruit.
Go and you get some elf fruit, and yeah.
All the
There's-
materials.
Yeah, there's armor, there's iron over there. You take care of it. I'm just gonna go mine some
I need
stuff.
to get some. Yeah, I need to get some bats together. Yeah.
Or, we're standing and we're going to start taking bets. How long do you think it's going to take for them to... I think Blackwell's going to take him out in the next 30 seconds. I think this will be about a minute and a half.
All right,
The other
Blackwall.
person in that scenario is Varric, right? In the taking bets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And
Egging it
Iron
on.
Bull egging him on too, because Iron Bull would be right there,
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
especially
yep.
Mayhem.
taking on dragons.
Mayhem.
Mayhem.
Josh, did you have
Mayhem.
any facepalm moments for that you remember?
Well, so my biggest probably misstep running this game happened when so Kat's sister had joined a cult, and the whole team kind of infiltrated the cult to try to rescue her. Yeah,
As you do.
Yes, you do.
But this was also a cult that was responsible in our game for sending the sister on Liliana's personal quest. So Liliana had sent an assassin to kind of wipe out the cult, which was Argent from the multiplayer.
Was she busy that day?
And so my plan was for the heroes to kind of join the cult, and then all of a sudden this assassin's kind of like stalking them, and they have to get the sister out before the assassin works her way through all the people. But then the party kind of had a plan to like poison everybody just enough that they could like escape. And I was like,
lightly poisoned.
oh no, like they have to,
Poison.
I have to step things up. So I just had Argent the assassin appear as they were trying to poison to be like, hey, can I help? But I forgot that not everyone is as obsessed with the multiplayer characters that they would recognize a little tiny square portrait of them on site. So
It
Team's
would have been
kinda
a good plan if it was Cillian, because he is absolutely impossible for anyone to mistake.
That's true.
He's the
But it
only
was-
canon elf of color who's actually darker than Fenris. So
Yeah,
that's the problem. But he would have stuck out like a sore thumb.
that's true. But basically it ended with our everyone getting poisoned with like Lotus and Deathroot so that they all started hallucinating and fighting each other. And the assassin killed everybody well. The party grabbed Kat's sister and her girlfriend and ran away. And then...
Yes! Cat, we finally have
Yeah,
confirmation.
confirmation. Sister of the girlfriend.
And then they decided to... Argent kind of pops out of the abbey that they were hiding in. They're like, oh shit. So they just like started like wailing on Argent. And then we're like, oh wait. Realized later on that she was like on a mission from the Divine herself. And we're kinda like,
And that's how we
Sorry.
got Rector the babysitter.
yes, there was definitely a 10-minute period where I thought the campaign was now going to veer to them running off to hide in the Anderfells
And her goats.
instead of reporting back.
That's become our long-running joke whenever anything's going wrong. It's like, well, there's always the Enderfells. We can
Yeah.
go raid goats.
Well, and it's so much fun because you truly never know what someone's going to do. And one of my favorite revelations or like story beats from our campaign is one of our other players, Cam, who plays Decimus and who is hilarious, by the way, and willing to do anything at any moment. And kind of is a lawful, chaotic neutral, would you say? Like maybe edge?
Maybe.
Sorry, he's on the edge.
I would say he's on that
representer.
lawful neutral, lawful evil.
Yeah, he's so
Yeah.
much.
Right, that border area.
So we get in this situation where we're sort of, we have to fight a demon and we're in this room with lots of spirits. We can choose to take a spirit on temporarily to help us kind of like power up. Now I chose not to because my just my mage would never do that ever. It's too risky, you know, but everybody else did. And he decided to keep he's an abomination now. He has kept his spirit ever since. He is an abomination. Talks to himself.
Wisdom. He's got a spirit of wisdom. Because his big thing is he wants to learn. He wants all the knowledge.
He's kind of a mad scientist. Yeah.
Rapidly.
Yeah. Like he wanted, you know, when we were going to fight Decimus, or we were going to fight
eventually.
Daenerys. Probably. No, when we were going to fight Daenerys.
That's why Varric's nickname for Decimus is Sesterci. Which is a deep cut.
Yeah. But yeah, when we were getting wow, let me start again. When we were getting ready to try and go fight Daenerys, he was like, "But can we get his notes though? Can we ask him questions before we kill him?"
He's like, "Can I talk to him first? Don't kill him too fast." Yeah.
Fortunately, Blue Wraith had arrived earlier that day, so I was prepared. And I think that's one of the problems of this setting is like if you're running like Eberron has very kind of like intentional blank spots. Like, well, what caused the day of mourning? Keith Baker, who wrote the setting, doesn't know and doesn't want to know. He doesn't want there to be a canon explanation. But like, okay, well, wait, what is this whole, what is this whole sarcophagus thing that gives you blue lyrium markings that make you do stuff? Like, well, there might be an answer for that, but that's gonna be in DA4. That canon is yet to come. It's rough being in like an unfinished setting sometimes.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I want to give you this lore, but it doesn't actually exist. And I can, you can BS a fair amount if you just go with the elves probably did it.
That's fair. Tevinter claimed it, but the elves actually did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be like, oh, it's the elf's fault in our campaign. Because I, for some reason, end up being the one that causes problems.
I do also like having the out of having an in-game character answer everything, so you can just be like, well, they were wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's really fun. So but we're running around and like with this character who is, we may end up fighting him at some point, probably, which is I look forward to it, or he may end up saving us, but it was completely just organic and in the moment, and we're running around, and of course if we end up in Kirkwall, that's going to be fun, because we're right at the height of Dragon Age 2 and we have an abomination with us, so
wow, okay, yeah,
that's going to turn out well.
I know, it's going to be great, right?
Totally fine.
It's going to be great, so yeah.
There were some books on spirit depossession higher in the White Spire, but we didn't go for these.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now, by the way. We're trying to escape the White Spire, and the person that's there with us is Cassandra.
We have to fight Cassandra!
Oh no.
Oh no.
Not right now.
Yeah, she's real tough. You guys are fucked.
I know, and not only that, but come on, we love Cassandra. I don't want to fight Cassandra. I mean,
How
she's
did she get
awesome.
that scar?
Oh.
You're gonna create a time paradox.
No. No. And it's so fun. I love who is everybody's favorite in-game character that you got to meet, in the game, in your play?
Varric.
That's a hard one. I kind of want to say Isabella, but then I had to duck out for half of the time she was around. I missed her giving Drag the hat.
Oh,
Our warrior got an admiral's hat from Isabella, which, as you know, high marks of praise with that.
That's awesome. I think for me, weirdly enough, because we've met so many and I love them all, and everyone is really sweet, because I usually do this like theatrical gasp of, oh, I know it, I'm all excited every time. But weirdly enough, it was really fun meeting Dorian, because I didn't expect, it came out of nowhere, and I had been talking to him, my character had been talking to him, and I missed my chance to go upstairs with Dorian. And I know that nothing would have happened, but you never know. I could have said the right thing and changed the world. I don't know. But just meeting
Yeah.
and then realizing, okay, you know, we all flirt with him, right? No matter what. And yeah, I'm just saying. So, but I didn't expect to meet him then, and it was so much fun and so appropriate. You know, it was part of the setting. It worked perfectly, and I've loved meeting everyone that we've met. And but that was a good one for me because I didn't realize who he was right away. And then you have that moment of, oh my God, you know, I know who I'm talking to.
Right.
So yeah.
You know, I'm actually going to change my answer because I think that the best one was Liliana after we screwed up the cult quest. That was
Yes. Oh
terrifying.
my God.
this
Oh,
big picture
Josh
of
found this
disapproving
perfect.
Liliana.
Oh my God. It's
Did
like
you
we're
piss
so
off
cool.
Left Hand Liliana?
No, this was
Oh.
divine
We
Liliana.
pissed off Murder Pope Liliana.
Oh, no.
Yes.
And his voice goes
She is-
completely stony flat the whole time. So you're just like, oh, we are in deep trouble here.
And I
It was
still
fantastic.
don't know how I, being the person with zero in communication, managed to be the one to talk people out of killing us.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
meeting Flemeth. Oh man, that was a big one.
Oh, it was
And Pat
cool.
does
Yeah,
an
that was
amazing Flemeth,
good.
by the way. Yeah, that was a big one. I mean, I think I actually shrieked at that one because it was such a hair horns.
You know what was funny actually when we met Cullen, it started off as a joke because we were going to be playing on my birthday. And I was like, well, you know, it's going to be my birthday, so, you know, if you want to give me a gift, you could bring you know, Cullen into the game for my character to meet. And then he did, and that was kind of hilarious. And it ended up, it started off being this really silly, like, oh, my character's going to be like, hey. And then it ended up being this, like, really emotional
Very
thing for her.
sweet,
Like, yeah, it's
yeah.
become a big part of her character development. And while and that's been going on with not ever being able to see him. It's just been like things that have changed in her because of that, and it's crazy how that happened.
And then bless her little heart. So she has this very moving, emotional little almost fling with Colin. I mean, they've got little heart eyes for each other, right?
There was a fight with a blood mage in a basement, and he used the guardian feature to take a hit
For
after
her.
the flirt. After the
It was
flirt
so
stunt.
romantic.
He saved me.
And then Varric is off to the side taking notes the entire time and writes a book.
We're getting coarse here.
Let's collide. She was a bard. He was a Templar.
Well, and what was funny about it is that the whole time up to that point, she just thought it was hilarious. Well, after that, Meredith shows up, which is never a good thing.
Yeah, if she
And
does. Yeah.
so she basically is like, why
He
are
wasn't
you
supposed to be in Cumberland.
Yeah, why are you even here? What the hell is going on? And he basically managed to turn things around enough that we could escape, and then sent a note after saying, it was like very sweet, basically saying, I am both sorry and glad, basically, that we won't be able to see each other because it makes me want to think about things that I shouldn't think about in my career.
And she still has
basically.
it. And
it's just, she
so
was like,
still has
so
the letter.
she was so like, you know, this guy who's this is his whole life, was like, you know, sent this note, like put himself on the line and sent this note and stuff. And it was just like, it made it all like a real thing for her.
Mhm.
And so that from that point on, it's just become a part of her character thing. So it's just, it's funny how it happened that way, I guess, since it all started from a joke.
Well, and that's what's so funny is like there are all these little amusing moments when we're like when we meet these characters, and then we do meet them and you're kind of starstruck for a minute almost. It's like, I don't know what to say because I'm talking to Solus, or, you know, oh my God, I'm talking to Fenris or the Arishok or, you know, whoever. And that's what's so great about the role play aspect is you're so immersed in it that you're not being as clever or funny as you think you would be because you're in character and going, holy crap, what do I do? You know, and it's a lot of fun. So And Pat's very good at springing them on us. It's like, you mean, you know, oh, there's a guy in armor over there, and he turns out to be Fenris. And we're all like, oh, Fenris!
I think my favorites have been meeting Nathaniel Howe, because our little, warrior just comes at him all sunshine and rainbows and casts confusion with the power of being our baby. I think this past time we met Varric was actually the first time we met him in game. And we got Varric nicknames.
I don't have one yet.
Oh, there's always one person he has issues finding a nickname for. He'll find it for you.
There's one person he has issues with. I'm like, what did I do?
No.
You're
finding a name.
You're in trouble if Varric doesn't like you.
Oh, Kat, what's your character's name?
It's also Kat. I'm super creative.
I can tell.
Nothing wrong with that, Kat.
This most recent time, when we actually got to talk to Varric in game, my elf broke the tradition of elves having flower nicknames, female elves having flower nicknames, because I am Mama Bear.
Oh.
Because part of the arc we're going through right now, she's from Lavellan, and since we did our world state the way it did, it's like, okay, whoever wasn't involved with, who isn't the Inquisitor, the events in their war table missions still happen, but happen in the worst way. So Lavellan got wiped out. My character is almost 40. She has children.
Yeah.
So we found one of my children. We're in the process of trying to rescue another of my children, and hearing about how my character went Mama Bear trying to get to her children, and apparently was very aggressive in her letter writing. Got the nickname Mama Bear. And then because of what we're doing to try to find one of my children died in the attack on Lavellan, because
of course,
it's just it's how it works. 3 children, you're not going to have all of them survive something that.
It's the Dragon Age 2 rule,
Yeah,
yeah. One of them has to go,
If there's a Dalish clan, somehow we will destroy it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have feelings about that, which we will not go into here. But we're getting people together from the free marches to get into Wycombe, which is where her youngest child is. And she went and had brandy and cheese, Antivan brandy and cheese with Sebastian to get a handle on how politics in the marches work for humans.
Does he imbibe spirits beverages?
Oh, so, yeah, does Sebastian drink? That's a good question.
I mean, it was like a 300 or 400-year-old Antivan brandy. If he said no.
Oh, well, at that point.
Then.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
I'm chased, but I'm not dead.
Right. There we go.
Yes, he's partaking of the type of spirits the Chantry approves of.
One of the things somebody brought up earlier, one of the questions that we would ask ourselves is, how would we feel are we okay with our character dying, for instance? And this is new to me because I haven't done a lot of tabletop until the last 2 years, but the most fun for me is, and by the way, I love my character deeply. She's little precious monster. I adore her, but I'm fine. If she dies in the next game, I'm okay. Because I want it to be actually your face, but in a good way. But if she goes out, I've already told everybody what I want her funeral arrangements to be. But I was surprised to be okay with that possibility. I always thought, I'm going to be like terrified of dying, and I am. We're always scared if we go into a big battle, but it's also really fun. It's kind of freeing. It's like, well, good luck, and it makes it feel more real. Like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm going to get through this, and that was the biggest surprise for me, just being okay with that. So.
Well, I mean, if anything happens to Telianos, Dominique will probably go on a murder rampage and kill everyone in a 50-mile radius. But other than that,
this is going in a Beatrix Kiddo direction.
I will try not to die. But
Good plan.
I figure if my character dies, as long as it's after we've rescued my youngest child, which is my
Right.
daughter, I would then step into my character's daughter's shoes and she would continue on from there.
oh, that's a great idea.
Josh taking
Just like
Josh,
Okay.
You already have your
Don't kill
backup
her.
character.
yes, I have a backup character whose backstory's already worked into
Right.
the
That's
campaign
seamless.
we
That is
have.
so smart. I love that.
The only character that I ever played for a long time that actually, that I played for a significant amount that died in a game was in a modern type setting. And it was when I learned the important law that if the DM says, "Are you sure you want to do that?" The answer is no.
Yeah.
It was in a firefight and I was trying to see what was going on. So I tried to peek up over the edge of the
Oh no.
thing was happening on the
Ooh.
roof and I tried to peek up over the edge of it. He's like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "Well, I want to see I need to know what's going on." And I, of course, because there were bullets going everywhere and my character was squishy, immediately got shot
Oh, no.
and did not roll well enough to save my butt. So yeah, it was like, it's an important tabletop
good-
lesson.
That's a
That is
good-
good to know. That
it's
is
a-
very good to know.
It's good advice, actually. Yeah. Or I always like the Matt Mercer, which is, can I do such and such? Well, you can certainly try.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe I don't want to.
Yeah, no.
One thing I've learned from watching Tanya, her previous DMing is yes, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that, but you're
Mhm.
going to pay
Oh.
for it in
Mhm.
some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, what was it? I got shoved off a cliff, managed to make my acrobatics saves while wearing heavy armor because I'm an arcane warrior. And then I had to run up the hill and the cliff I'd just gotten pushed down while archers are firing on me. It's like, yes, I am going to get up to that top of that hill, but
You're
There's
pulling
a
out
very-
arrows. You get up to the top, you're just pulling the arrows out. Like,
thankfully the heavy armor, the thing with, as I think it was Pat was saying about how the math is a little iffy in the Dragon Age tabletop RPG. Since I'm an arcane warrior with armor, the most they were getting was like 12, 13 points of damage, and my armor nullifies 10 of it. So yeah, they were blinking on it, but I'm
Yeah.
also a mage, so my health pool isn't the largest.
Yeah, so AGE DMs at home, make those numbers up. Figure out what the average hit points are for your 3 characters or 4 characters or however many characters you have, and just make the damage 25% of that.
One of the things I did very early on in our adventure is we were in the middle of a fight, and I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, all right, all of the enemies have just lost 20 hit points. There we go.
Ruh-roh.
that's a really good point, though, is that I would imagine it's challenging for DMs to manage is the fights have to be tough but fun. And sometimes you don't want to fight for 3 hours. It's you want to kind of get it over with. I mean, at a certain point, and so balancing it and also giving us challenges that feel new. To me, seems like that would be one of the more difficult things that we probably take for granted as players.
Oh man,
Because you want it to be difficult
got a-
enough that you
we
can...
got an emissary thrown at us not
Oh.
long ago. That was just, that was a good fight, Josh, but oh my God.
Because ideally you want it to be difficult enough that you almost die, but not so much that you definitely die.
Right.
So it's a fine balance. And Pat is really good at that because we have almost died many times.
We were all within 5 hit points of death fighting Daenerys. It was really close at one point to a TPK.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So just far enough to tick off the healer.
But it was fun, too.
Yeah.
I became an arcane warrior simply because I was the one who was almost nearly dead. for the first
Yeah.
5-6 sessions, and our healer is super frustrated with me because they were always telling me stay close enough for me to heal you, and now that I have armor, I'm actually doing what they want me to, but I'm not taking damage anymore.
But the squishy needs protection.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I always forget to
Definitely.
hide. It's the stupidest thing. And I'm the healer, and I'm like, wait, I have to get behind something. So now my first thing is, wait, what's in the room? What piece of furniture can I go cower behind so that I can keep healing my party?
First rule, where's my cover?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It only took me a year to do that.
I'm just picturing like this clumsy half roll elf just like half rolling across the room, like almost making it to cover and then having to like scoot across the floor to the rest of the thing.
Yeah,
Which would
crawl.
totally be something my character would do too. So
Yeah.
So here's a question for everybody, given the whole pandemic situation, quarantine and all that jazz. For those of you who have played games in person and online, what do you think are the differences? How is it different in those scenarios?
I find that since it's online, it's easier for me to make it to the games.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have to get in a car, I don't have to drive somewhere, I don't have to take that into account. I don't have to take into account the fact that I'm probably needing to eat during that time, so you generally have to go and get something on the way, or there's the prep time if you want to bring something you've made with you. The only drawback for it being electronic is I live near a corner that frequently has people spinning out and hitting the transformer that controls the electricity to my house.
That's fun.
So I missed all of building our first Vartarol because we've had multiples. I missed all of our first Vartarol because somebody ran into the transformer and the entire neighborhood was out of power until it got fixed 12 hours later.
Oh no.
Well, Pat, what was it? You had marauding raccoons at one point.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. As I slowly turn and look at that vent, I still have nightmares about the little hands coming through.
There was a
the
little
vents.
paw.
Yeah, it's funny now in the light of day, the rapidly fading light of day.
So you were DMing and all of a sudden you hear this noise.
No. This was kind of an ongoing struggle that hey, I need to cancel this week's game. I need to maintain a vigil. Also, I didn't sleep last night because I was maintaining a vigil. So it's just
Ceiling Raccoon does not approve of this game.
yeah.
Huh.
And
Yeah, that would
luckily
be a
they
little
all
much.
departed peacefully, right? They just went away, yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't looking forward to the end of that story. Like, oh no, they're so cute, you know.
Yeah, it turns out our lack of ventilation, forced them to they left of their own accord. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Aw. Yeah.
Well, this probably is a good time to sort of wrap up. Is there any final question or observation or fun thing anybody wants to wrap up with?
Then hands going through the walls are terrifying.
I'm like, I have this.
Josh.
I'm going to just make a note.
Raccoons.
Raccoons.
Random raccoon
Or
hand.
for our
Or
campaign,
just hands.
Nug
Yes.
hands, little nug hands.
Nug hands. Yes.
Oh, they're little hand feet, right?
Yes,
It's kind
yes,
of like it's adorable, but kind of creepy.
Kind of creepy.
too.
Yeah.
Or thanks to one of the lovely artists at BioWare, Spider Hands. Spider Hands.
Oh no!
You held up
No,
Spider Hands.
no,
Spider.
and no.
No.
I am
Look.
not okay with.
No, I'm not okay. I would Scream.
because spiders are bad enough, but
Yeah.
now it can grab you and then do spidey things. I'm not okay with that.
It's worse than ironically spiders.
Yes, it is.
I love ironically spiders.
Ironically, spiders.
love that so much.
I'm also really scared during that one. The spiders really freak me out. Dragon Age has just been one long spider phobia exposure therapy.
But if it makes you feel better, the spiders with hands have 10 limbs, so they're technically not spiders anymore.
Oh, that's
Oh,
Oh,
well,
Yeah.
that
Worse.
makes it.
Oh yeah, that
Makes
makes it all better.
Look at it. Not okay.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been extremely educational. I have all sorts of
Yes.
ideas I can go to
Thank
my
you.
GM with.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
everyone.
for being here. Thank you,
Yes.
Josh and Pat and Angelica and Jen and Kat and Nick and our wonderful Tanya and Savvy, who was here for a while. And thank you so much.
Everyone, be safe during this current blight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
In war victory, we're going to win eventually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bear your blade and raise it high.
Yeah.
Thank
dawn
you,
will come.
everyone.
Well, thank you so much
Thanks,
to everyone. I'm gonna sign us off here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And those of you who have not played yet, I can't wait to hear about your. Please share your experiences when you play.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Will
good
do.
luck with
Definitely.
DMing, by the way, Nick. You're gonna be great.
I'm
Yes.
excited. I'm going to try to find friends and get the rule book, and we're going to try to play soon. I hope.
Lacey has your back.
Yes, Lacey has my back. I feel encouraged.
Well, cheers, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
And
Bye.
thank you so much. Happy Dragon Age Day.
Happy Dragon
Happy
Age.
Dragon Age
Day.
Day.
Yay.
Day.